I just realized this intro is extremely boring. How about we try something that's a little more exciting and deserving of this awesome game?
Hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. Lips as sweet as candy.
Hello everybody, and welcome to my second very comprehensive guide for Marvel Heroes. I decided to make this one because there was a major event for Marvel Heroes. It was the 1-year anniversary. So I'm going to do essentially the same thing and just go over the major aspects for this game, including everything that has been added since my previous one. So essentially, to start off, I'm going to go ahead and basically go where beginning players go. As soon as you pick your new player, you're going to go to the prologue section of the game. And I'll explain some of the basic aspects once I get there. So the first thing that we see is this full-on, I guess, cinematic scene with Uatu, the Watcher, which is very exciting. We're not going to watch it right now, though. We're just going to skip past it. So the first thing is I'm going to go over essentially just the basic controls and a lot of the just the basic introduction to the game. So Marvel Heroes is an action RPG, also known as an ARPG, which essentially means it's like Diablo 2, which is the most famous example. And incidentally, the man who made what's it called now? I can't even remember what I was talking about. Diablo 2 actually made Marvel Heroes, David Brevik, which is very, very exciting. He's a wonderful game designer. So just very briefly, right now I'm playing as Ghost Rider, which is really exciting. Essentially, there are a couple of very basic things that you need to know. First and most importantly is just your basic movement. In order to move around, you just move with your cursor. You can see the blue thing moving around, and then you just left click. When you left click, then you move forward. Easy enough, right? Right click is actually an attack that you can use. You can see on the bottom here, which I'll go into a little bit later on. Other than that, if you have any questions at all about the game while you're in game, oh, more guys spawned. If you have any questions, then you can go ahead and look at the help menu, which I'll just go ahead and move out of the way of these guys. Excuse me, gentlemen. Let me get out of the way. The help menu is accessed by pressing escape, and in addition to the help menu, we also have settings. So here under options, we've got all of the different settings. We've got the video settings where you can adjust everything that you want. The key bindings, which is really nice, you can adjust what button or whatever activates powers. I personally use my fancy mouse here, so I've got all sorts of stuff laying out there. The hotkeys, the function keys, allow you to swap out powers immediately, which is really cool. Emotes, all sorts of random stuff like that. In addition, we've got several gameplay settings that are really important. First, being able to show all of the things on the map. You may see, for example, over here we can see names of other players. You can stop showing a lot of that if you want. Various things like that. In addition, disable the Hero Synergy bonus XP. That's a very important option. I will talk more about Hero bonus XP later on, but for now just know that the option is there. For the help, we can see here just the help menu, and they have everything that you could possibly want, from commands to how the crafting system works, endgame, PvP, just a general tutorial of what you're supposed to do, a glossary of terms, all sorts of stuff. Pretty much any question that you have can probably be answered there, and if not there, then at the forums. Those are the other good places to start. So other than that, like I said, the basic movement, just left click, and in addition, once you're in a little crowd of enemies, you can run into several issues. That is, if you're trying to left click, then it also acts as this first power down here. So one thing that you can do is slightly alter the way that you move. Essentially, if you press shift and click at the same time, you will do the attack. So see, I'm hovering over the enemy here, or now I am. If you press alt and click, then you move automatically no matter what. So it makes it much nicer, or rather, if you control click. So see, I'm next to a car. Look, I'm not attacking it even though I click on it. Okay, that makes it much, much easier to basically get out of nasty little jams and all that kind of stuff. So here, I'm going to go ahead and readjust all my stuff. Let's get Ghost Rider's motorcycle going here. Move the Inferno over, and we'll just move straight on. Vroom, vroom, vroom. So like I said, this is the prologue. After you pick your starter hero, whoever that is, this is where you're going to end up. You just run through this real quickly. You really shouldn't worry too much about what guys are dropping, what you should pick up, anything like that. Essentially just pick up everything that drops. At this point you don't have to worry about the inventory. I will be talking plenty about that later on, so have no fear. I will be doing plenty of that. And essentially the bank, this prologue, you're essentially stopping a bank robbery, and the whole point is essentially to introduce you to the game as a whole, just so that you can know what's going on, know approximately how things are working, all of that kind of stuff. And it's unfortunate I haven't seen any gear drops. There, we got some boots now. Hello, Black Cat. So you may have noticed these various orbs dropping at various times. There are currently 4 colors of orbs, and one of which you probably won't see throughout the video. And essentially the 3 major colors are the red, the green, and the blue. So you can see a little red one right there. We'll zoom in a little bit. There's the red one, and there's the green one. Red is health, and green is experience. So you can see my little XP bar down here, which is always very nice. Let me just gather this stuff up real quick so I have something to equip very quickly, just so that I have something going forward. It's not necessarily good or bad. I'm just going to equip it so I have it. Alright, and we'll chat with this guy, and now we're moving on. So we're continuing with the prologue here, and essentially, like I said, the other orb that we didn't actually see, the third color, is purple, and that is essentially a combination of green and red, as well as actually blue, or it's actually red and blue. So you can see here, red, we've got health, blue, we've got spirit. I'm going to be talking all about the user interface in just a little bit. No worries about that. So we're going to chat with her real quick, and then we'll go talk to Vision so that we can travel to the raft. So essentially the raft is the Marvel Universe's version of a prison, for those of you who aren't aware, and essentially all the bad guys escaped. This is still the prologue, so we are still learning. And on that note, just to sort of go over some things, first and most importantly, obviously this is a Marvel game. It's very exciting. It's produced by Gazillion Entertainment, who is most famous for City of Heroes and City of Villains. And essentially they continued on a similar path with this game, where we're talking about good versus bad, essentially, but in, obviously, the Marvel Universe, which is extremely exciting. And now is as good a time as any to talk a little bit about the characters. Currently, we have a total of 34 playable characters. There are 3 characters that are coming down the pipeline fairly soon. The first one being Silver Surfer, the second one being Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, yes. And then we've got Nova. So Nova's been a bit of a problem. He was actually promised as part of the initial game, and there's just been a bunch of issues with that. Okay, so I won't go too much into it. Now, when you're in the prologue here, it's a good idea to sort of read over several of your powers. You can open up this window, the power window, by pressing P, alright, as makes sense. And essentially what you're doing is you're just sort of looking around, seeing what kind of powers you've got. Each character has unique abilities that are related to what they do within the within the Marvel Universe. Obviously with Ghost Rider, he is how can I best describe him? I really don't know a great deal about the character himself. I know that he's essentially possessed, for lack of a better term, and he is the spirit of vengeance, is his shtick. So the idea is that he goes out doing good against people that are bad, even though he looks like the most frightening demon person I have ever seen in my life. So at this time in the raft and also during the bank prologue, they're good times to sort of look at your character's powers, see what they're capable of, and see what kind of character you want to play them as. So in this case, we've got the Chains, the Vengeance, and the Hellfire for the 3 categories of Ghost Rider's powers. And essentially, most of the characters you can play as the multiple builds, or essentially play them in different ways, which is really, really exciting. There are several main categories of powers, and you essentially have the powers that spend spirit or whatever other unit your character uses. You've also got what are called basic abilities, and then you have passive abilities. So the basic abilities are exactly what it sounds like. They are the essential, very simple abilities that just go around and you can just use them all you want, and they don't cost anything. The spirit spending abilities, for example, the Inferno here, you can see every time I use that power, this blue goes down. That is my spirit rating, and whenever I use a spirit spending power, then it goes down. Makes sense, right? So essentially what you want for a basic character build, regardless of who it is, what they do, how they work, anything like that, you want several key features. First, you want a solid basic just to regularly attack people. You want to have some kind of a movement power, which always comes standard. You always start off with a basic attack, a spirit spending attack of some sort, and some kind of movement ability. That's what every character starts with in some form, basically to flavor whatever the character is. The other thing that you want to have is a really good, strong area of attack for these guys that we call mobs, which are just the general bad guys that you're going to be running into throughout. So in this case, we've got Inferno as an excellent area of effect attack. One of the other major characters is a single target spirit spender, which in the case of Ghost Rider and other characters, there are many different types of these, but right now I've got Judgment, which is this little attack right here, and that works pretty well against single targets, but you can play around with it. One thing to note is it is very, very important to really mess around with these characters, see what you like, see what feels good, see what makes sense for how you personally want to play. That's really the best advice that I can give to anybody at all who wants to play this game. Just play it however you want. There are all sorts of different characters, they have all sorts of different flavors, you can do pretty much whatever you want. That being said, each character tends to fall into several categories. Oh, real quick, I forgot about passive abilities. Passive abilities are exactly what they sound like. They are passive. In other words, they don't cost anything to use, they just sort of sit there and they do whatever it is that they do. Everybody has some kind of passive ability, more often than not something that they start off with. And essentially they give you constant bonuses no matter what you're doing. Because again, they're passives. You don't have to do anything to activate them or anything like that. In the case of Ghost Rider, he starts off with this passive, the Spirit of Vengeance. Several passives that different characters have, or other general abilities that they have, are what are known as one-point wonders. And these are essentially powers that do exactly what they sound like, where if you spend 1 point in them, you get pretty much any benefit or a really good benefit from it, and you don't need to spend more powers or more points. Throughout the game, you're going to be collecting the power points, and those are the currencies for increasing your character's abilities. You can see here it says points available. I've got 4 right now. And all told in this game, you can collect a sum total of 164 power points. That is to say that you can have a total of 164 points spread out through all this. Now that is with doing absolutely everything in the game to actually collect the power points, which I'll get to later. And one other important thing for several characters is what's known as a secondary resource. I'm going to use Jean Grey as an example here. For those who don't know, Jean Grey is possessed by an entity called the Phoenix, and when you play as her, then you have what's called the Phoenix points here. You can see it's a secondary bar that's above the rest of the interface. Okay, and with that, there are a couple of other just really minor things. You can see here now my powers are all blank, and there's a number 3 here. We can actually scroll through this to 1, 2, and 3. We have multiple bars for powers. If any of you are familiar with World of Warcraft, you will be very familiar with this system where we can essentially stack things. The way that we scroll through these are with the bracket keys, right, left and right. So that's that. That's just another important little thing to note. Like I said, essentially the characters fall into one of 3 categories in general. You can have melee characters, you can have ranged characters, or more recently getting a lot of love are the hybrid characters, the ones that are both a little bit of melee and range. That becomes important later on when you're talking about gear and all that kind of stuff, which I will get to later on. And as far as leveling characters, you saw I just got Ghost Rider 2. I think it was level 6. So not really too much. One very important thing is with all of these characters, you want to make sure that you at least get them to around 20 to 30, because that's really when most of them start to sort of come out of their shells, and you can really start to see some of the really, really cool capabilities that they have. So again, there are 34 currently that you can play as, so you certainly have plenty of options as far as what to do, and I'll get way into how to get them, how to play them, all that kind of stuff. For now, I'm going to stick with a lot of the basics and just go straight into one of the most important aspects of this game, which is dealing with the interface. One of the most important aspects for any game like this, or really any major online game, is the interface. Not even online games, offline games too. So for this, I'm just going to be discussing some of the major features. First and most importantly, I'm going to be talking about the map. Right up here in the upper right corner. You can see that we've got the little mini map. I don't know if you can see it. I'll move over just a little bit here. So you can see that little blue triangle right there. That's you, or me in this case. If you press tab by default, then you can open up the map to a full screen, and it essentially scrolls with you as you're moving around. Okay, very, very useful. Just going around clockwise, you can see we've got some orange buttons here that I'll be talking about later on. This one just says that you've got power points that are ready to spend, which I discussed a little while ago, and then we've got synergy points, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes, basically. Next, we've got what's called the mission tracker, and this is essentially how you can tell what you need to do next. And you can scroll through different types of missions, all of which I will discuss at length, no worries. Down here in the bottom right corner, we've got buffs and debuffs. When you click this on and off, it'll switch between buffs and debuffs if you have both. If you've only got one or none, then it's either going to just scroll between the one, in this case I've only got buffs, or if you have nothing, then nothing will happen. At the bottom of the screen here, we've got sort of the bread and butter. On the far left here, we've got health. On the far right, we've got spirit, or in the case of one character right now and several upcoming characters, a different form of using powers, a different way to spend to use abilities. I mentioned spirit spending powers earlier. In Wolverine's case here, if he ever decides to come down, there we go, you can see the graphic is distinctly different, and he spends what's called fury rather than spirit. And hopefully the developers will be doing a lot more of this. I'm greatly looking forward to it. With that, we will switch back over to, let's go to Psylocke because she's really cool. At the bottom, we've got the different powers. You can assign them directly from the power screen. So we can see here, for example, Psionic Assault. I've already got it assigned to D, and essentially all you need to do, you just click on it here. Just click it once, and then if you press the button, then it'll be assigned. Alright, easy enough. You can also just click and drag it down to assign it. Okay, easy peasy, and like I said before, you can scroll through the different power bars there. Okay, the other very important thing here is we've got the XP rating, and then the secondary resources, which I mentioned earlier in Psylocke's case. Here she's got her own little thing that I won't really be talking about. And now one of the new additions is if you right click on the XP bar here, you'll see it turns blue. It just so happens that they're actually very close here, but they're two completely separate bars. One of them is the regular experience, the other is for what we call the Omega system. And if you remember, I mentioned there are several different types of orbs. We've got green, we've got purple, we've got blue, we've got red, and we've got a new light blue. So the new light blue that looks essentially like a big lightning bolt in it is for this Omega system, which I will be talking about at length later on once again. Continuing on, we've got here the team up, which I'll be talking about in just a few seconds. The ultimate, once you unlock it, every character has an ultimate power that's listed here at the bottom. Most of them, I believe, now unlock at level 52 with a level cap of 60, and some of them still unlock at level 30 though. But essentially it's just a super powerful attack that you can use. Right down here, right below the ultimate indicator, is the med kits. That's just however many med kits you have in your inventory. And then continuing on clockwise here, I know that you guys can't really see this because of the video very well, but we've got the different menu buttons, all of which I'll tell you the shortcuts for in a little bit. And then the chat, let me bigify this here. There you go. So now you can see the top of the chat at least. You can see we've got several tabs here. And I'm going to be talking more about chat and player interaction later on, or you can just skip to it if you so desire. So for now, I'm just going to go over some of the key shortcuts that we've got here. First, we've got I'm going to essentially say the buttons and then what they do. O opens up the social panel. That's where you can see your friends, who all is nearby. In this case, I'm in a hub, so there's plenty of people, anybody that you've ignored, and anybody who is in your super group, okay? Which is always very, very exciting. So I'm going to go again into social interaction later on. This is more of just your basic introduction. I said P earlier opens up the powers. Hang on. Woo! Oh, I apologize for that. P opens up your power window here, which I already discussed a decent bit. Let's move on to my next page here. Next one is T. This is a very important one, which allows you to switch characters. So you can see I have a decent roster here. Of the 34 characters, I'm only missing 5 of them. And essentially all that you need to do is just click on one of the characters and then say switch. In addition, we've got this little drop-down menu which says heroic difficulty, normal difficulty, and super heroic. That is for the story mode, and I'll talk about that when I talk about the story a little bit more. Right now, I'm going to talk about a relatively new feature, the team-ups. Team-up heroes are, like I said, a new feature that add a little bit of flavor into the game, and they act essentially as a sidekick. So I currently have unlocked Falcon and Magic, but we also have Firestar, Spider-Man, and another Spider-Man that's unique to a gambling feature in the game that, again, I will talk about later on once I talk about the store and everything. So if we click View, then we can see the different stats for whatever the team-up person is. They have shared gear. I'll get into gear later on once I talk about gear, obviously. They have various tiers of powers. Let me switch over to somebody else who's higher up. The different tiers unlock at specific levels. So basically, the tier 1 you start off with automatically. I believe tier 2 unlocks at level 30, and then 3 unlocks at 40, and 4 unlocks at level 50 of the 60 level cap. So I'll switch over to Cable here just so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So you can see I called in Falcon as I came down. Go back to our team-up heroes and View. So we can see they actually have a separate inventory, which is very, very nice and very helpful. But in addition, now we've got the 2 additional tiers unlocked. And essentially, each tier has a set of powers related to how the character either behaves and or interacts with you. So in this case, the first tier is essentially just you can beef them up for a small amount of time to help you out with a really big boss or something like that. Or in my case, I just picked the companion power, which just means they'll hang around until they're killed. And then we've got the second tier, which basically says that either while your team up hero is in play, they help you out, or when they're gone, they increase your ability to find cool stuff. The last two tiers are specific for the individual heroes. So I'll switch over to magic just so you can see. You can see we've got flank from above, suppressing fire, and rapid advance for Falcon. Specifically, and then for magic we've got Dark Reaping, 7 League Step, and the Sorceress Eruption. Very, very exciting there. So they do just have their unique abilities, again, just like with the main characters, based on what they do in the Marvel Comics universes of various sorts. Well, I guess the universe is one thing. Parallel universes. Okay, so again, some nice space for you, and these are characters that you have to pay for separately. We don't get them for free, but they're relatively cheap, and they do certainly help a decent amount. So that is the character switching, the T. And incidentally, one thing that I forgot is in order to summon the team up hero, you can either click the portrait here. You can also right click to open up their little tab here, or you can press K. Obviously, with the person not there here already, doesn't really make a difference. Okay, so just moving straight along to a very important means of character advancement and abilities is the letter V, as in Victor. This opens up the achievements panel, which is several different things. We've got the hero synergy system, we've got the Omega system, we've got shared quests and achievements coming soon. Okay, again, I'm going to be talking about all of this later on when I talk about character advancement and quests and all of that kind of stuff. Just for right now, that's how you open it up, is with V. Okay, very, very exciting, cool stuff. Next is the store, opened up with X. And you can see here, this is actually the in-game store where you can spend what are called G. That is essentially you pay real money and you get G in return that you can spend here. You can buy heroes, you can buy costumes for them, you can buy really neat pets, you can buy boosts that help you out throughout the game in various ways. Here are the team-up heroes that you can purchase. The fortune cards, which essentially allow you to gamble. You can buy a fortune card and they have a chance to get any of the items that you see listed on their thing. We currently have 6 different types of fortune cards, all of which give slightly different things of various sorts. The specials, which all come and go depending on what's going on right now. I really want to get the Spider-Man Bagman because I just think it's hilarious. But yeah, they've got special costumes, just specials on items, special releases, all sorts of crazy stuff like that. And then the bundles, which are always pretty good deals, where you can get a whole bunch of fortune cards, you can get specific characters where you get different things for them, like new costumes, all sorts of stuff like that. A bunch of really cool stuff. So that's the store X again. And I'm going to come back more to that later on as well. Okay, so the character inventory, which is obviously a very important thing, is opened up with C. As an alternative, you can also use I. One important thing to note, if you use I, it opens up both the character inventory and the team-up hero, if that's a important thing for you. So you can see we've got a decent number of inventory slots. This is essentially where you keep all your stuff, okay, here and also over here, which I will explain later on when I talk about inventory management. Very big deal, I might add. Okay, so that's just the character. You can read about your different stats, how they affect your character, what they do, and all that good stuff. Very, very exciting. Really easy to read the tooltips, see what everything does. All of these different basic stats do something with every level, and we have essentially unlimited progression. You can also look at your stats, which is essentially everything about how your character behaves. Importantly, I want to point out several, though. We've got here the rare item find and special item find, which dictate how often you find rare and special items. The rare items are the really high-level gear and all of that kind of stuff. The special items are literally special items that drop. So you can get things like potions and runes and all sorts of stuff like that, again, which I'll talk about when I talk about items. We also have the bonus experience, including the bonus hero synergy experience, which again I'll talk about more later. But just, you know, basic stuff, any information that you could possibly want to know about your characters are in the stats. In addition, we've got the biography of the characters from the Marvel Universe, of what they do, how it works, all of that kind of stuff. One thing to note is you can see here at the bottom, we've got 3 things listed. We've got the G's, which I already talked about. We've got Odin marks, which are very important for the enchanter and several items that, again, I will talk about later in their specific sections. And then the credits, which are the basic currency within the game that you buy stuff with from vendors. And the current cap for credits is 3 million. So we can get quite a few, but incidentally, you know, you can still do stuff. Okay? Last but certainly not least is one of my personal favorite windows, which is the quest log, and that is opened up with L. L opens up the mission log, and it tells you essentially all the missions that you have for the different chapters throughout the story, as well as what are called legendary quests, which I'll get into later and demonstrate a little bit of. We also have account missions, which essentially are just you do it one time and then you're done with it. Same thing with these, the lore missions. The lore missions are exactly what they sound like, where you can learn about the Avengers, you learn about AIM, you learn about Madripoor, the island, you learn about all sorts of stuff, X-Men history, the Brotherhood of Mutants. It's pretty cool. It's some pretty neat stuff, and then they give you a brief little summary after you're done with them. So if you really want, you can read Wikipedia, though. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so those are your how you figure out what quests you need to do, what quests you have. Right? Incidentally, one nice little shortcut for this, I have a whole bunch of windows open right now. Instead of going to all of the little X's and Xing them out like that, if you just press spacebar, they all close. So that's a nice little trick if you end up doing that. Especially, you can go to these and look, all 3 of them open. You can walk away and close them, but I just like to use the spacebar. So with that, I am going to go right on ahead and start talking about gear, vendors, and our inventories. And I'm going to split it up into several sections. The first thing that I'm going to be talking about is gear for your character, the different levels, and how it works and all that kind of stuff. All right? Stay tuned. As I mentioned, right now I'm going to start off by talking about gear for your characters. And first and most importantly are the different levels. You may have seen, as I've been playing, that we've got all sorts of different colors, different shapes and sizes, and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. But one thing to note with this is, very similarly to other ARPGs as well as a lot of MMORPGs, is the ranking system for the gear. Okay, I'm going to switch back over to Ghost Rider because he's got the lowest gear now because I just started playing him. Essentially, it starts off at the very lowest level, which is the gray and the white gear, and then it moves up from there to green, then blue, then purple, and then what in this game is called cosmic or yellow, and then we've got uniques, which are that sort of brownish tinge, and those are all what go into these 5 slots. Every single character has these slots. They're often just called slots 1 through 5 because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and we'll switch back over. Let's go to Deadpool because Deadpool's pretty cool. And essentially, all that it is just that's the basis for your gear. So you can see here, this is a yellow, this is a cosmic, it says cosmic, and one thing about the cosmics is they have a unique aspect to them. So in this case, if you look at the bottom of the item, I can't move the mouse, but it says cosmic item, 7% chance when you are hit to fire a cosmic beam, dealing damage, and it gives you +1 to all of your powers, which is awesome. Okay, so cosmics are really good, uniques are better. Uniques are the items that are exactly that. You've got items that are unique to your specific character. So for example, for Deadpool, we have the magic satchel of unlimited weaponry. If you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, then you will love Deadpool because he makes all sorts of remarks about Dungeons and Dragons, amongst many, many other things. So just going through my tabs a little bit here, you can see I've got a bunch bunch of various cosmics for different characters. There you can see there's an Ace of Spades. Obviously that's for Gambit. Up here we've got a couple of uniques, that's not a unique, but this is a unique. It's got that brown background. One thing to note that for uniques, there are two major categories for them. You've got the uniques that are specific for your character. That is to say, like for Deadpool here, we've got the Magic Satchel, which is unique dash Deadpool. Deadpool only. And then if we go over here to Spider-Man, he's where I keep a lot of my stuff. We've got any hero uniques as well. So you can see up at the top underneath Facet of the Unipower, it says unique any hero. And because of that, you can literally put it on any hero. So it can get very, very confusing about what is BIS, as we call it, which stands for best in slot. That means the absolute best thing that you can have for each of these individual things. Okay, and that's just your basic gear. All right, just every character has it, every character needs it, every character uses it. All right, we have numerous other slots, obviously, and I'll switch over to my personal favorite character, Nightcrawler, because he's pretty decked out. All right, so the other major item types that we've got rings, which go right here. We've got legendary items, which I'll talk more about later on with the vendors. Uru Forged, which again I will talk more about later. The artifacts, and then the medallions. Okay, so the artifacts are these four that are around the medallion, and then the relics. Okay, so relics and artifacts and stuff, I'll talk more about those when I'm talking about inventory management and stuff like that, but suffice it to say, when you pick up an artifact, then it's going, the text is going to look essentially like this. It's going to be that reddish brown color. Okay, for the uniques, when they drop, it actually just says unique in the game. All right, once they drop. Incidentally, one thing that I didn't mention that's very important about gear is in this game, unlike games like Diablo 2, particularly, I don't know if they do it in Diablo 3, but all of the gear that drops on the screen is yours. It's not a free-for-all, it's all yours. So you don't have to worry about going and grabbing everything. You can focus on the bad guys, you can take all of them out, and then just move on from there. Okay, it makes it much, much easier. All right? So there's that for gear, and then some of the other just general types that we've got are the runes, which are really cool, that I'll talk about when I talk about the enchanter later on, and then the costume cores, which go with your costumes here, which I will talk about when I talk about the crafter. We've got insignias, which are specific for the different teams within the Marvel Universe, and then you can have a pet slot. So the pets are literally just little guys that follow you around.
Wow, this looks
So,
like one of those crossovers I read about.
oh, Spider-Ham. So you can see I've got my my little Spider-Ham here, and he'll just follow me around. Right? The pets in these slots don't actually do anything. They just literally follow you around for no particular reason, except to make snappy remarks of various sorts. That's really all that they're good for. But it's really cool. Okay? So with that, I'll go ahead and jump right in to talking about several of the vendors. As I'm doing that, I'm going to focus more on several of these different gear types. Most importantly, though, right now, I mentioned the cosmic and the unique levels and all that. For the rings, they go up to the cosmic level. You can see I have a cosmic ring here. For the insignias, they go up to purple at present. And then for the team-up gear, they actually go up to blue, the rares, okay? But you can also get greens and all that good stuff, okay? Again, when I talk about inventory management, I'll talk more about all of that, what to keep, what to get rid of, all that good stuff. So I'll jump straight into some of the vendors that we see in the game. First, I'm going to talk about all the ubiquitous ones, okay? So the first vendors that we're going to be talking about are your most basic ones. You've got a weapons vendor and you've got a gear vendor. And again, these are all going to be guys that are in every single one. So you can see here, Jarvis is our gear vendor here in the Avengers Tower. And then we have some shield weapon outfitter who is the weapon vendor. Makes sense, right? Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about these guys simply because they don't really do a great deal. The only thing is that once you get them to high levels through donations, which I'll talk about when I talk about the crafter specifically, they will have artifacts, which are those the nice items that go up here. There are a ton of artifacts in the game, and it's really important if you want to seriously gear a character that you get the best artifacts that you possibly can. So those are weapon and gear. You essentially will never really interact with them other than trying to get those special items that they've got. That's just how it is. They are not exceedingly good vendors at this time. Okay. Other than that, just running over through the Avengers Tower, we've got Hank Pym here, the crafter. I'm going to talk more specifically about him in just a little while. We've got War Machine, who acts as the supergroup sanctioner I mentioned earlier. If we open up our social panel here, that we've got the supergroup, and essentially you can start a supergroup for the low price of only 1,999 credits. And if you recall, the credit cap is 3 million, so 2,000 is a drop in the bucket. Right now, there isn't really anything special for the supergroups, but there's been a lot of talk on the forums by the developers about things like supergroup specific areas, like team hubs where you can get bonuses and all that kind of stuff. One of the other important people is Clea, the cube shard vendor. You can see I've got a nice little pile of cube shards here, and she sells all sorts of cool little stuff. Okay, in addition to spending the cube shards, which you would obviously want to spend at the cube shard vendor, you can also buy several things related to the cards and several runes, which again I'll talk about later on when I talk about the enchanter and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's see, let me just flip my page here. Yes. Next is Adam Warlock. He is the Eternity Splinter vendor. I don't think I had any as I was playing along, but I'll be talking more about him later. And essentially, the Eternity Splinters, this little pile of stuff that I got here, this is how we have a free-to-play game. I'm going to talk a lot more about free-to-play later on, but suffice it to say, every single character, basically every single thing in this game, you can get for free by these Eternity Splinters, which is wonderful. It's an incredible system. I really love it. It's awesome. Okay, and I'll talk more about it when I talk about buying characters and spending stuff in the store, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So the other people that we've got our fortune card vendor, Domino, and I don't really mention her too much because she basically just opens up the store. Well, woohoo, look, I can do that too. Okay, but that's how you get your cards. The Enchanter, a very important vendor that recently came up. Again, the Enchanter's going to get their own section, so don't worry about that. And then we've got the Special Event vendor. So this is a very unique person because essentially this started off as somebody who was just here to collect stuff from events that occur throughout the game, and I'll mention that with my ongoing aspects for this. I don't know if this is gonna if she's gonna be a permanent member of this game, if she's gonna stay here. I assume that they will, and they'll just change up the stuff that she's got when they need it. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to be talking about things that are specific to the crafter for this, as well as discussing a little bit about gear management, particularly talking about donations and leveling up vendors. So moving right along, like I said, I'm going to start talking specifically about the crafter. The reason that the crafter and the enchanter are going to get their own little sections for this is because they are so vital to many portions of the game. Okay, so one thing that you may notice in the little crafter window here is it says current rank max. What you want to do is when you first start the game, you're going to have all of your vendors at level 1. And what you want to do is get them up to level 20, which is the max level. Okay, and the way that you do that is very simply you donate items. I'm going to talk more about donations when I talk about inventory management, but suffice it to say, if you Alt and right click on an item. I'm not going to do it here because he's already maxed. But if you do that, then it will donate and it'll essentially make their experience increase. As the experience of the vendor increases, they get better items, they get more stuff that they can sell you, more stuff that they can do, all of that kind of stuff. They just get better in general. Alternatively, you can just sort of click on something and drag it over to this little box that says donate. All right, that's the other means that you can do it. So for this, there's essentially an order that you want to go in. First, you want to level up your crafter, and the reason is primarily for the costume. Okay, I'll actually switch over to somebody else here. Who am I going to switch over to? Who do I like? Who do I like? I'll switch to Deadpool. I don't think I've done this for him just yet. Okay. So, you can see here that there are several tabs for the crafter, the first of which is elements. So you can see at the top of my little stash here that we've got various elements. This is essentially one of the currencies that the crafter uses to do their thing. Okay? And if we go to the costumes here, you can see the first thing is add defensive affix to costume, grade 1, and then grade 2, 3, 4, and then offensive affix, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, add core, swap affix, blah, 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 etc., etc. All sorts of stuff to do with costumes. Now, here's the thing. When you start off, when you just have a basic costume with nothing going on, then you literally have nothing going on. Okay? What you want to do is you want to add these affixes because these are going to boost up your numbers for what your character is capable of in just a very general sense. Okay? Very, very important. Now, I always really tend to go with offensive. One important thing to note is you can essentially have a single copy, so to speak, of each grade. You can have a grade 1, 2, 3, and 4, but you can have either a defensive or an offensive. You can either have a defensive 1 or an offensive grade 1. You can have all 4 be offensive. You can have all 4 be defensive. 3 and 1, 2 and 2, however you want to split it, doesn't matter. I personally like to do all offensive, like I said. And essentially, the grade 1s are the lowest in terms of what they do for you, and the grade 4s naturally are the highest in what they do for you. And you can see here, sort of ghosted out, are the requirements for the recipe. In this case, for the grade 4, you need a costume of some sort, and then you need 3 complex nanotech filaments, which are these guys right here. Okay, so I'm actually going to make something a little different. I'm going to go ahead and do just a grade 3. So in order to do this, I need to split complex element. So I'll go ahead and incidentally, if you right click on something, then it'll automatically go to a place where it's valid. Okay, so here if I put it back, then won't let me. There we go. So just right click it and boom, it's there. Okay, makes it much easier for these long distance craftings. So we'll split that, and then we'll take it, and it puts it in my inventory. So now we've got 3 essential ones of this. So for the grade 3, we need 3 essential nanotech filaments. So there we have the costume, which you do have to drag over, unfortunately, and then boom, 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 just like that. So with that, we now have a grade 3. In this case, I got 99 damage rating against targets that are attacking you. That one's pretty bad. Okay, if you read the forums, there are forums that are specific to individual characters. If you read over those, you can see what people recommend for them, whether if you want to get health, if you want to get damage rating, crit rating, all of that kind of stuff. All of those are available as costume affixes. The problem is you have no choice with it. Like everything else in this game, it's all based off what we call the RNGesus, also known as just the RNG, but RNGesus sounds a lot more fun. RNG is random number generator. That determines the numbers for your gear, how good it is. It determines what you're going to get with your affix. It's going to determine how high the number that is. All of that kind of stuff. Very, very important. Okay? The other important thing that Hank Pym, or the crafter in general, can do for your costume is add a costume core. I mentioned earlier that we've got these costume cores, these purple background, funny-looking things. Different characters use different costume cores. That's why they're all different. So, for example, I believe that Deadpool uses what's it called? He uses adamantium because he's got adamantium, right? The characters use whatever is most appropriate for their flavor. So, for example, Cable is a mutant, and although Deadpool is too, but primarily he's known as a mutant, and therefore you use what's called the activated X gene, which creates the mutants. Okay, we've also got vibranium ore, and we've got the promethium fragments. Okay, and what these costume cores do is a lot of different stuff. Just like the basic costume affixes that you can get, you will also get those same types of affixes from these costume cores. And that's why this crafter is so important. You may notice on several of these or on all of them, just below the basic description where it says activated X gene, add this to a costume with a crafter of level 10 or higher, it says resulting costume equipable at level blank. Okay, that means that your character has to be level whatever it is in order to wear the costume. So you can do these at relatively low levels and then upgrade later on. And what these will do, in addition to giving you additional affixes, is they will also increase the numbers for the affixes in your costume. The higher the level of the costume core, the higher the level of those grade 1, 2, 3, and 4 numbers are going to be. So very helpful no matter what your level is and no matter how long you've been playing. Always do the crafter. In addition, the crafter has a lot more stuff that we can do. Just basic stuff for gear. You can upgrade an epic, which is the purple gear, to a cosmic, to a yellow, which can be exciting, but it is pretty expensive. I personally do not recommend doing it because it is very pricey. You can re-roll the numbers for a unique item. You can upgrade rare items to purples, which is the blue to the purple. One very important thing is upgrading uniques. When I talk about inventory management, one thing that I will say over and over is keep your uniques. Keep all of the uniques. Uniques are immensely valuable later on. Okay, and you can see I've got a bunch of Uru forged various things in here as well. Let me see where Spider-Man. He's got all my uniques. So essentially, most of these are pretty high levels, but you can see the facet of the Unipower. If you look at the bottom left corner of the facet of the Unipower window, you see it says level required 36, item grade 39. The item grade is something that was recently added, and it essentially shows you how good the item is. So for the facet of the Unipower, it is a item grade 39. I currently have a level 6 or an item grade 63. Obviously, I'm not going to make that swap. Okay, it's essentially a semi-objective way of determining if gear is good or bad, or better or worse, rather. Okay, so the level required here is 36. Now, let's say that you really like your facet of the Unipower, but you are now level 45. What you can do is you can come to your crafter here, click Upgrade Unique to level 40, you slap on the unique, you pay all of the cost with the various particles of different sorts, and then you say Create, and now your unique item is level 40 instead of level whatever it was before. Okay? Always, it is a good idea to do the upgrade to level 40. 50 and 60 are really expensive. So typically it's not a good idea to do that. It's just better to sort of go out and farm for a level 60 version instead. But if you really want to, you can upgrade to level 60, okay? And again, these are all all unlocked as you go through the levels with the crafter in this case. Okay? You can also transform epic items, which essentially means, for example, I've got a Spider-Man bodysuit here, and I can turn it into a bodysuit for, in this case, Cable, because I'm playing as Cable, right? I personally have never, ever used that. I don't know why you really would, but it's there if you want it. Okay, unbind any unique, which is really good for these any hero uniques, or there are certain uniques that are only usable by a specific group of heroes. I know I had one. I don't remember where I put it. I think I put it with Taskmaster. There you go. Anti-metal ammunition. You can see it's usable by Black Widow, Cable, Deadpool, Punisher, Rocket Raccoon, or Taskmaster. So if you want to just switch it amongst them, whatever. Okay, that's the point of unbind the unique. Okay, because when you equip something, then it's bound to the character. All right, so miscellaneous is exactly that. The crafter can make a whole bunch of random various things. A recent addition is the mini sentinel, which essentially just serves to donate to a vendor to increase their experience very quickly. We've got shield medkits, which are very, very valuable. We've got the legendary pots of gold. I'll talk about legendary items in a little bit. Serums that improve your capabilities for temporary amounts of time. We've got different artifacts that you can make. The confidential bovine sector, which is a really cool thing. And I'll talk about that when I talk about gear and endgame. Relics, which I mentioned briefly, the relics are the items that you can equip on people that give bonuses as you stack more and more and more. Again, I'll talk more about that in inventory management, though. Unbind artifacts, if you want to put it to another person. You can reset the numbers for them. Swap blessings. Blessings are really important for the enchanter that I'll talk about in just a little bit, but that also comes by in trading as well. Visual effects. Some of the costumes have visual effects. For example, me, it says visual glowing orbs. I don't really care, and then unbind. In addition, one of the issues with this game is you can get really bad luck with the random number generator, and you can get a whole bunch of the same unique that you really don't want. And essentially you can trade in 3, 4, or 5 uniques that are duplicates. In other words, I have 3 facets of the unipower. I could take all 3 of those and trade them in for a random unique that can be used for any hero, and it's completely random. Okay, so those are all the various exchanges. You can exchange for relics, you can exchange for runes, Odin marks, all that kind of stuff. All right, crafter, very, very important, absolutely vital to be the first one that you upgrade, if nothing else, than just for the costume abilities, because they're very, very helpful. Okay. In addition, I forgot to mention what is commonly referred to as the costume grinder. Essentially what this is you put in 3 costumes and 2 unstable molecules, which are rare crafting materials. And when you do that, then you get a random costume. It is completely and utterly random. The character that it's for, if it's going to be a really expensive costume or a really cheap costume, you might not even have the character that you needed it for, all of that kind of stuff. Very, very terrible. Okay, but it's fun if you get a bunch of extra costumes for whatever reason. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go right on ahead and move on and talk about the enchanter, our other very important vendor. As I said before, I'm going to go right on ahead and start talking about the enchanter now. For this, I'm actually going to switch back over to Nightcrawler because he is my most decked out person. And essentially, the enchanter is very, very important for the runes, which I mentioned earlier. So I'll go ahead and go over to my rune tab here. So you can see I've got a whole bunch of these runes. Okay, this is a relatively new feature to the game where you can enchant different gear. Alright, so you can see here we've got rune words, we've got enchant, and we've got blessings. All 3 of them extremely, extremely important tabs. Okay, so first off we've got the slots 1 through 5, which I talked about earlier. That is where the rune words go, this first tab here. Okay, and oh, sorry, that's where the enchantment, I apologize. Essentially, as you go up through the enchanter, then you're going to start off only being able to enchant a few of these. You can see here you've got 1 and V, the 5 Roman numeral, and then you've got 2, 3, and 4. That means that those are the gear slots that they can be put onto. You can see here I've got my sword blessed, which is not exceedingly exciting, but still, it works. And basically the enchantment makes it better in some form or another. These each use 1 rune, only 1. You can see here enchantment of year, enchantment of oak, enchantment of elk, cattle, etc., etc. And the enchantment of blank indicates what rune you need to perform that specific enchantment. And you get some kind of nifty boost. Some of these are very, very good. Some of them are extremely powerful. But to balance that out, the runes themselves are very, very rare. So you can have some trouble with that. But like, for example, here, the melee damage increase. Very, very good. If that's not it, I got another good one. I got damage rating on physical attacks, which is better for Nightcrawler. Okay, so that's the enchantment. That's for these gear slots, and you can just read through these. There's a whole bunch of really good ones. The problem is just try to keep in mind rarities. You can look on the forums. You can look. You can just ask people in the chat, which again I'll get into interactions a little bit later on. Ask them like, how much is this worth? Where can I get it? Does anyone have one for trade? All that kind of stuff. Rune words are the ones that take up not only more than one rune, but they also take up the Uru Forged, which is a new or relatively new gear slot. Right? I've got a bunch of them in Black Widow here. You can see there's all sorts of different ones that we've got. Which is all very exciting, and they all do different things. So for example, the one I have equipped increases physical attacks. We've got the War Axe, which increases melee damage, increasing energy attacks, increased defense, all sorts of different ones. Okay, lots and lots of cool stuff here. And the way that the rune words work is basically the same as the way the enchantments work, where you've got some specific rune word. In this case, we've got Valkyrie's Legacy, we've got Ancient Grove, Beastmaster, Lunar Eclipse. Those are the quote rune words themselves, and they require whatever runes it is. When you do the enchantment, then you get whatever bonuses it says. These, very similarly to the enchantments, there is a huge variation of what you can get, how good it is, and all of that kind of stuff. And again, rare runes give you very good things. One thing to note with these rune words, there are two that are really, really good in general and very, very cheap. One of them is Seer's Brilliance. This gives you additional health, additional experience, additional intelligence, which directly increases the amount of experience you get, although not by much. And then you get additional spirit, which really helps you move through the game faster. So that's Seer's Brilliance, and it's really cheap. It uses a Lake rune and a Year rune. So I've got these in alphabetical order approximately. So Lake, I've got 18, and Year, I've got 6. So that's a lot of Seer's Brilliance. The other really good one to look at is Brigand's Fortune. That gives you straight up spirit, or whatever it happens to be, additional experience, additional rare item find, special item find, and then attack speed, move speed. You take less damage from range powers, and it increases your speed. It's incredible. It's a great enchantment that is good for leveling, essentially, and that's the point that I'm making with those. Okay, you want them to level well, and then there are certainly wonderful rune words as well as enchantments that work great for end game, but obviously those are a lot more expensive, and you can potentially trade and all that kind of stuff. But I'll talk about that all later on. So the last thing for the enchanter are the blessings. I mentioned a little while ago with the crafter. The crafter is capable of swapping blessings between artifacts. Okay, so you can see all of the artifacts for my Nightcrawler here. We've got the Blessed Hand of Doom, the Blessed Advanced Kung Fu Training Sequence, because I know Kung Fu, the Blessed Gem of Curse, and the Blessed Pim's Shrinking Serum. Blessed just means it has one of these on them. So all of the blessings give very specific things, and they're always the same. I personally use Fandro on most of mine, or I believe all of them actually, and essentially these cost 100 Odin marks each. Odin marks I'll get into later on about how to get them and what else you can buy with them, but just know that that's how you get them, okay, is with Odin marks. And importantly, these are actually a very, very, very common trade commodity. A lot of people will say, I've got X rune and I want this specific blessing, or I want 4 blessings, or whatever it is. The way that trading works for blessings right now is essentially you would take a relatively useless artifact, one that you really don't care about too much. You would put the blessing on it, and then you would trade that artifact. And then when the person gets it, they can go to the crafter and do the swap blessings to get it on whatever artifact they actually want it on. Okay, so that's just something to note as far as the trading is concerned. All right, and Other than that, not really a whole lot with the enchanter. Just know that these rune words and the enchantments are very, very important. Note for inventory management, I'm going to be talking again about the Seer's Brilliance and the Brigand's Fortune, so keep that in mind very briefly. And for now, though, I'm going to head over to one of the other main hubs called Odin's Palace, and I'm going to talk about some of the specific vendors that only exist there. So now, as I said, we're going to be moving to Odin's Palace to discuss some of the specific vendors that only exist there. These are arguably some of the best loved because of some of the items that they have. And the first one that we're going to stop by is the legendary item vendor, which is this guy right here, the legendary Asgardian hero. And if you remember, I mentioned that this right here is the legendary item slot. On Nightcrawler, I've got Gungnir, which is a very famous Norse mythological weapon, but that is neither here nor there. I just find it cool. So the legendary items cost 300 Odin marks. If you remember, the blessings cost 100 each. And legendary items are 300 each, and these are all extremely powerful weapons and or defensive aspects or whatever it is. But I'm pretty sure all of them have some sort of offensive capability. It's been a while since I looked though. But these are how you really show that you love a character and you want to stick with them for a very long time. Basically, they give you massive abilities, but part of the thing is that they have to earn experience. You may notice that on all of these as I'm scrolling through them, there's a lot of red writing. The reason for that is technically if I were to buy these, they would all be rank 0. And in order to get to rank 1, you have to earn, in this case, 30 million experience points, which roughly translates to going from level 1 to level 30. And once you do that, then you would be at level 1, and then etc., etc. Once you get to rank 5, that is the highest rank, and you get all of the awesomeness for the legendary quest. That is why they are so powerful, and they take a very long time to fully level and thus get the entire capabilities out of them that you possibly can. Okay, so those are legendary items and the legendary item vendor in Odin's Palace. Next is somebody who's sort of right next to him, right here, the Siege Case vendor. This is one where it's part of a quest for Chapter 9, which is where Odin's Palace takes place, or where Odin's Palace is, rather. And the Siege Cases are essentially just random items. You get them for relatively cheap. You have to collect some stuff in the world, and then you can get free items out of them. Not very good, not very exciting if you ask me, but they are here, so there you go. The other major person is over here. This is one that I never really visit at all. I can barely remember where they are. There we go.
Is this a hero that's
The Valkyrie, which carries the PvP rings. When you do PvP in this game, you'll earn what are called Crowns of Valor. I believe I've still got one hanging around somewhere. Here we go. The Crown of Valor, which you get after playing PvP, and then you can come and trade them in for various rings that are actually unique level. If you remember, just dropping rings, you can only get up to Cosmic. Excuse me. But for these uniques, for the PvP rings, they are all unique levels. And part of the thing is that these are actually really geared more towards doing PvP. So you can see here, this one even says you get 141 damage rating versus targets with PvP golem status. These are very, very specific for a PvP environment, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just if you don't do PvP, then you can ignore them. But the vendor is here, and it is important. So there you go. There's that. And now with that, that's all of the Odin's Palace specific ones. So I'm going to move into one of the most dreaded aspects of any sort of game like this, and that is inventory management. So let's all take a breath. Inventory management. Any game like this where you have a ton of gear drops, and not only the basic gear, but also multiple other different types of items just in general that can drop, there are a lot of ways that you can go about dealing with them. The first way is obviously you've got your hero's inventory. Now, one thing to note is that this is a shared inventory. All of your characters utilize this same thing. It's not like I open this with Nightcrawler, this is what he has, and I open it with someone else and it's different. It's all the same. Okay. On that note, the team-up heroes, if you spend the money for them, they do have inventory space, which is kind of nice, always very helpful. And you'll also start off with a stash tab. And I don't remember exactly what it stands for. It's an acronym. It's Stark Tech, Armory, and something. I don't remember exactly what it is. It doesn't matter. But essentially, this is just your general storage space where you just put all of your stuff. Okay? Just right off the bat, I will say, I know this is a free-to-play game, and again, I will talk more about that later on, but buy a stash tab and a crafting tab. Buy a general tab, one of these ones that has a little box in it, and then buy one of these that has the little Erlenmeyer flask on it. Okay, together they cost $8. All right, the way that it translates is G. 1 G is equivalent to 1 penny. So 500 G is 500 pennies, also known as $5. Okay. The general tabs are where you're going to keep most of your stuff. You're going to be able to store all of the gear, all of the uniques, all of the any pets, costumes, just everything. That's why it's general. It holds everything. Okay, the crafting tab is exactly what it sounds like. It holds all of your crafting materials. You've got your various elements. You've got your costume cores, unstable molecules, matrix of unbinding, which you use at the crafter. Your runes all stay in here, and I've got a whole bunch of costume cores, basically. So very, very useful to buy one of each, because then you have to make a lot fewer sacrifices with gear. That said, if you absolutely do not wish to, you don't have to buy the space. Okay, you really don't. And what I'm going to do now is just sort of give a few tips about how to really get lean and mean with what you keep. Okay. First and most importantly, I mentioned it earlier, I'll mention it again. Keep your uniques. Always, always, always. It doesn't matter what level they are. It doesn't matter what character they're for. Keep them always. Relatively soon, we're going to be having a new system called Stark Tech. And that's actually going to utilize unique items as sort of a feeding system into Stark Tech. So once that's done, that's going to be a huge help. So always, always, always keep your uniques. They are the most valuable by far. One thing is that they aren't tradable, so the only way to get uniques is to find them yourself. So make sure that you always keep them. Okay, that's the other thing. At the very least, as far as runes are concerned, at the very least, you want to keep the runes for preferably Seer's Brilliance and if possible, Brigand's Fortune. Okay, remember those two rune words that I mentioned earlier, because those are your basic leveling and I guess you'd say hunter-gathering rune words, wherein you're going to be much better at getting to new levels faster, and you're going to be able to get much better gear at much better instances and better, what's the word? I just had it. Intervals. That's the one. Okay, so that's the thing for the runes, at least. And also, if you get them, try to keep the very, very rare runes, because the runes are tradable, and then if you have them, you can trade for whatever else you want. So, for example, Saturn runes are rare, Sif runes are rare, all of that kind of stuff. Well, Sif runes are relatively rare, not superbly rare. And actually, one thing that I forgot to mention since I'm here now, as far as those go, there are a lot of rare runes, but one thing is, in Old English, a lot of the, not only gods of Norse mythology, but several of the things that they worked with and worked for are now encased in runes. So, for example, Monday is the moon rune, Tuesday is Tyr, I'll just go through all of them. Wednesday, also originally known as Woden's Day, is the Odin rune. Thursday, which used to be called Thor's Day, is the Thor rune. Friday, or Frigga, is Frigga rune. Saturday is the Saturn rune, because Sat. And then Sunday is the Sun rune. Right, so those are all very rare runes, and on the individual days, according to the server, the drop rate for those runes will be increased. Although you're talking about an increase from a like 0.0001% chance to like a 0.002% chance. So it's not a substantial increase, but it's increased regardless. Okay, so the other thing for inventory management are artifacts. You're going to find all sorts of artifacts. You're going to find good artifacts. You're going to find bad artifacts. Okay, and especially if, again, you don't want to spend the money for a stash tab, what you want to keep are only the best of the best. So one thing that I highly recommend is to look at both the Marvel Heroes forums and the website marvelbase.com, right? I put links down below in the description if you so desire. And what that's going to do is it's going to tell you several things. First, it's going to tell you what the maximum rolls are for these different items, so you can see how good of a copy essentially you got. And one other place you can look is actually the trade channel within the chat. I didn't really talk about that too much because I'm going to do interaction a little bit later. But there is a very active trade channel within the game, and that will essentially tell you what people are looking for, be it runes or be it specific artifacts or blessings, whatever it is. And that's how you're going to find out what is valuable and therefore what you should keep. Okay, that said, there are certain very rare artifacts that you should always keep regardless of the roles, that you'll only find several of throughout the entire time you're playing, but that's really basically what you should do. And for the artifacts also, if you are exceedingly scrimping on all of this, only keep artifacts for the particular character that you are using at the time. That's the other thing that you can say. Okay. For the crafting materials, I mentioned you should really get a crafting tab, but you'll notice that I've got, oops, that's the wrong one. I've got 3 of each of these types. I have complex, refined, and pure. If you are really strapped for space, only use the pures, because if we go to our crafting friend here, you can see it says split pure element, and essentially what it's going to do is it's just going to go down the pipeline until you have the most basic, the primitive element. All right, and by the same token, you can craft upwards as well. But essentially, if you only have pure, you will be okay. It'll be annoying. It doesn't cost a lot, which is nice, but it'll just be frustrating to have to keep going and keep swapping it back and forth. Okay, like I said, I personally keep complex, refined, and pure though, but I believe there's 7 total levels, so it's pretty ridiculous. There's a lot of levels. Okay, so there's that, and then one of the other things I mentioned earlier is the relics, and I promised that I'd talk about it more right now. So relics are special items that stack up to 1,000. You can have up to 1,000 relics in a single stack. I here have 139 of this particular relic for Nightcrawler. And essentially the way it works, there's a lot of stuff on the forums if you're really curious, but it eventually gets to diminishing returns as far as you have X number of the specific relic, and it stops being as valuable, essentially. So I have here, there's a total of 13 relics that I found. I assume that's all of the ones that are in the game, and I've got stacks for all of them. So 13 stash spaces is quite a bit. That is quite a commitment. But with that commitment comes a lot of potential for building a character. And not only that, but having to try to gather up a bunch of relics later on is exceedingly difficult and very frustrating. Similarly to the uniques, you can't trade the relics, which can be very, very frustrating. So I would recommend at least keeping some of the really good ones. So like the Relic of Lemuria is really, really good, because that's just straight up, if you hit somebody, you get health. It's awesome. It's great. The Relic of Atlantis is really nice. You get critical damage rating as well as health. Asgard is nice. You get damage with melee. The Giborn, or Giborim, sorry, gives you health and spirit, which is very good for a bunch of different characters. Relic of Xander is good. It's range power. Relic of Adelan is area powers. So there are some that you can sort of hold on to if you're really strapped. But preferably keep all of them because the developers are always sort of tuning everything, and they recently did a pass on the relics, and they are a lot more useful for many different builds. It really depends on how you play an individual character as far as what's going to be good or bad. So there's that. I'm sorry if you heard that. My dog sneezed. I don't know if you guys heard it. Let's see, what else do we got? So, once you get to the point where you can collect them, you will start to gradually get cosmic rings, which again I've got on Nightcrawler. Those are the rings that you really want. Obviously, the purple ones are really good too. Rings are fairly rare drops. So if you find a purple ring, you really do want to keep them. But again, if you're absolutely strapped, then keep with the cosmics only, okay? It's really, really tough, okay? But typically the type of things you want to look for in rings are generally you want to look for critical damage, critical rating, just general damage rating, a lot of offensive capabilities really. Some of them are really, really lame, but a lot of them are fairly good. So just keep the best ones that you can, essentially. For medallions, I didn't really touch on them too much because I wanted to talk about them here again. The medallions drop when you defeat bosses normally, and essentially each boss has a specific medallion. I've got a stash here that's full of a lot of medallions, and like the slots 1 through 5 and the rings, they have cosmic versions. You can see here the medallions themselves are blue, but they still have that yellow cosmic writing. Okay, and they behave exactly the same as the other medallions do. They get rolled and they can have good or bad numbers, but the difference is always the medallions will give you +1 to your powers, but the cosmics give you +2 to every single power you have. Awesome. Totally awesome. So again, if you're very, very strapped, only collect cosmic medallions. Try to collect the purple ones that have very good rolls though. Okay, and again, check marvelbase.com to see what constitutes a good roll. Alright, let's see here. What else do we got? So the last thing is just as sort of a common sense thing. As you're leveling up, as long as you're not replacing uniques, which again, always keep your uniques, as long as you're not replacing uniques, always just donate all of your old stuff to the vendors. You never want to sell because you will really never be strapped for credit so badly that you have to actually sell something. Always just do the alt click, or you can't see my finger, but alt and right click, and you'll just donate all the stuff. All right? You probably didn't see the experience didn't go up very much because those weren't worth anything. But still, every little bit helps. All right. So other than that, if you ever decide to get them as well, one other quick note about the stash tabs. There are character-specific stash tabs. And the idea is that you only put gear specific for that hero in there. For example, I showed you Deadpool earlier where he has the unique that says Unique Deadpool. Okay, same thing for... where'd Taskmaster go? There he is. So with this one, this is a unique that can be used by him, and therefore he can put it in the stash. Okay, but as of right now, I don't know if this is technically a bug, exploit, whatever you want to call it, but you can use these to hold rings. You can also use them to hold Uru Forged and relevant insignias. All right, that's one thing I forgot to mention is insignias. You want to keep purple insignias, okay, the epic insignias. Blues if you can. Again, the insignias are fairly rare, so keep the blues if you can, but you really want to just keep the purple. Essentially, the general story is just keep the best gear, and that's your inventory management. All right, for the purples, for the insignia, you generally want ones that have things like critical rating, critical damage, okay, as the affixes. If you get those, then those are the ones that are worth trading, and you can get really good stuff in return for them. All right, so that's what you want to focus on as well. Let me see here. Other very quick notes on that. Uru Forge, same thing. You don't have to keep all of them. I tend to. Team Up gear is very similar. One thing I wanted to show very quickly is how Team Up gear looks, because it has a different general look. I'm going to go into the training room here just to show you. It's essentially, it helps you figure out if something is Team Up gear. So you just drop that. So you see it has a little bag and it's got the shield insignia above it. That's how you know it's Team Up gear. Okay, and those go up to purple, not purple, sorry, blue. But I've kept a whole lot of Team Up gear because not only does it benefit your Team Up hero, it also benefits you. So again, very, very good. Just donate everything that you're not going to use. Donate everything that's not for your person, and that's pretty much the basics of where you want to go with it. So with that, I will just go move right on ahead into leveling and the story mode for this game. So stay tuned. Alright, so now we are on our way to discuss leveling and the story. For this, I'm really not going to be talking a whole lot about it. I'll put several links, you can see them. They're links for my other videos where I discussed leveling at length in this game. It's a very important aspect, obviously, because there's so many characters, you want to do it very quickly, all of that good stuff. But suffice it to say, I will say some of the key points. So essentially, the biggest thing is you can either level very quickly or you can do the story. Eventually you should do the story. I'll come back to that in a couple of seconds. So essentially, for one of my videos, I did a bunch of math for leveling, and I determined that the best way to level, the most efficient way to level, is to go here, go to the challenges tab right here, and go to this X defense. Go here until you are level 20. Once you hit level 20, you're going to unlock the legendary quests, which are these things on your quest log. Do those until you get to whatever level you want, be it level 50 or 60, and etc., etc. Okay? And basically get 4 heroes up to... pom-poms, what are those? Get 4 heroes up to level 60 for the purpose of the hero synergy, and then get the rest of the characters up in a group. First, get everybody up to level 30, and then get everybody up to level 50. That's when the rest of the synergy activates. So very briefly about the synergy, since I'm talking about it. For the first 4 characters, the bonus synergy goes like this. The first hero gets you 30% bonus XP. The second hero gets you an additional 20 for a total of 50. The third gives you an additional 15 for a total of 65. And the fourth gives you an additional 10 for a total of 75. Right? After that, every level 60 hero gives you an additional 5%. Okay? But throughout the entire time, a level 30 character will give you 1%, and a level 50 character will give you 3%. Okay, so part of the thing that I did with my video is I said, look, if we do all of the math for this, it's easier not only if we go just from 0 or 1 to 60 with the first 4, and then just go 30 with everybody and then 50 with everybody, but just leave everybody at 50, because going from 50 to 60 really isn't worth it unless you're planning on really playing the characters, okay, that you get to 60 with. Okay, so that's math, all right? That's what my math said. Okay, other than that, for the story itself, at some point go through the story. Do it. It's a good story. It's very well crafted, very Marvel. Awesome, just do it. In addition, you will unlock all of the waypoints at the various times for it. So here, let's go back to the story. So you can see we go through all the chapters, and you can see these are all waypoints within it. Okay, and I mentioned earlier the different difficulty levels. The 3 difficulty levels correspond to 3, I guess, 3 iterations of the story. Each one is the same story, but it's just a different difficulty, all right? It gets harder and harder as you go on. Okay, so that means you are literally doing the same story 3 times. But that also means you get all of the quest rewards 3 times. Okay, I'll come back to that, like I said, in just a little bit. So let's see, actually it is my next note. So if you really enjoy the character, first off, you want to go back through the story. Okay, the reason for that is at different points within the story, you get really good boosts. You get permanent increases to health. You get permanent increases to spirit. You get you get boosts for leveling. You get these experience boosts. You get these rare item boosts. Okay, and those help with everybody. Those aren't just your specific character, but you also get the power points. If you remember, I mentioned there's a total of, I think it was 164 available. I might be wrong. Let me go back through my notes real quick. But yes, 164 total points available, and that includes the points that you get from the story mode. And remember, the story mode you can do 3 times. Each time you are able to get all of the rewards again. One other cool reward that you get are the retcon potions. The retcon potions are important because that's what lets you respec your character. If you don't like the way that your build is working, or if you unlocked a new power and you want to dump a bunch of points into it and take them off of something else, use a retcon potion and then dump away. Okay, every character, again, you get 3 of the quest rewards for each person, so every character can get 3 retcon potions. So easy peasy. All right. So let's see. So that's that. And then if you really don't like the character, if you're not a huge fan of them, I would recommend, first off, after you get your 4 to level 60, leave the people you don't like at level 50. I'll tell you why it's 50 in just a little bit. Leave them at 50 and at least get the boosts. Okay, there is a rarity boost and an experience boost. The experience boost is in Chapter 7, which is with Mr. Sinister. All you have to do is go to the Sinister Lab and then blah, 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 blah. And the rarity boost is in the, where is it? Is it Chapter 2? Yes, Chapter 2 in the Taskmaster Institute. You get to go fight Taskmaster, and when you're done with it, then you get the rarity boost. Okay, but again, all of this is in my other videos. Go and watch them. They're all far more comprehensive. So with that, I'm just going to move right on ahead into the next aspect, which is sort of the side quests and the additional advancement systems that have relatively recently started. So, as I said, now I'm going to be talking about what can best be called the side quests and then the additional advancement systems within this game. So, first and most importantly are the legendary quests. I mentioned with the leveling that is essentially your bread and butter for leveling very quickly. You get the most experience. You also get Odin marks, which is how you get those legendary items and the blessings. So you get a lot of Odin marks from them. Again, you can watch my leveling video to hear all about legendary quests. And just as another note, you can skip a legendary quest for a cost of 250 credits per level. So for example, my Nightcrawler is level 60. So it costs 15,000 credits, right? I don't actually want to skip it. I really don't care. Okay, but just for the sake of argument, I'm going to go ahead and do one of the legendary quests, or at least most of it. And it just so happens that this one's actually really good. And it sort of exemplifies one of the things that I really like to do with legendary quests. This particular one takes place in the story, and specifically it's actually in Chapter 7. If you remember, I just mentioned that Chapter 7 is where we get the experience boost. So this particular legendary quest is called For Great Science. I have to take out some bad guys, I have to make some stuff, and then I have to donate some stuff, essentially. There is actually a very specific bad guy that I need to find for this, though. So hopefully I'll be able to find him relatively quickly. It's kind of nice. I can actually play a little bit. You guys can see the actual gameplay here. For those of you who didn't notice, I did switch over to Jean Grey for this. She is the Phoenix. Oh look, the Daredevil guy already came by and took out a bunch of people. So I'm looking for a specific character named Dr. Riverstein, and once I find him, that'll be a big part of the quest. Other than that, I need to donate crafting ingredients, which oh, he already got Dr. Riverstein. Oh, that's nice. So I'm going to collect any of these random smaller ones. I mentioned earlier that I don't collect any of these crafting ingredients, but here I will just because I need to get rid of them. Okay. So since I'm here, I'll go ahead and just talk very quickly about a couple of the other things I'm going to be discussing. The first of which is going to be the shared quests, which just recently came into existence, where they are essentially a single quest that the entirety of the server is assigned. Okay, and then the two major secondary advancements types that I'm going to be talking about are the synergies and the Omega system. The Omega system being the newest one, and it's really exciting. It's pretty cool. So I'm excited to show you that. And that's going to be basically the end of this sort of section for my video. I'm going to take out Mr. Sinister and then head back to take care of these donations. I'll see, like I got team up gear. You can see the shield signal there. Not very easily, but you can. So now we'll free Bishop. Don't worry, I'll make sure that this doesn't really spoil anything. I skip all this stuff anyway, so... There, see? Doesn't spoil anything. Oh no, we're flying back somewhere. Or flying to somewhere. Who knows? Alright? So to finish up this particular legendary quest, I need to craft some stuff, and I need to donate crafting ingredients. Okay, so we're going to head to the crafter here.
Oh, really? I don't mind the
And I got an ordinary particle. So what I can do is I can actually split it, and that counts as generating a new thing. So there's primitive, and then I can split the primitive. So that's 2 created, and there's 3 created. Okay, and now we can head up here, and I'm just going to donate all of them, and then we'll be done.
What century is that look from?
There we go. Okay, so you can see here we've got these nice yellow orbs. The only time that you see these yellow orbs is when you complete a legendary quest. You also see you get a good amount of money and then our Odin marks. Okay, I got the extra Odin mark, the one that's in a separate pile, because it's the first one I completed of the day with Jean Grey. Okay, so that's that. On to shared quests. So for this one, I'm actually very, very excited. I'm going to do this one with Gambit, because I really like Gambit. He's really cool. And we just got a new costume for him, the Gambit as Death. And he just looks awesome. Okay, so the shared quests, like I said, are one of the newest additions to the game. We access them by pressing V, which brings up the achievements, and then we can go over here to shared quests. So you see we've got Midtown Patrol shared, we've got Terminal shared, and then we've got HoloSim shared. Okay, so essentially what this means is this is just all of the things that we can do. Midtown Patrol is a challenge that I'll talk about later on, as are terminals. I'll talk about those when I talk about loot and endgame stuff. The HoloSim, same thing, but right now I'm actually going to go into the HoloSim, so you'll be able to see what that's like and what all it does. It's pretty cool stuff. Okay, so essentially these are quests that stay on the server, that everybody can do, like I said, and essentially they're designed to be not necessarily an alternative to the what's it called? Now I can't remember, to the legendary quest, but rather you can do them in concert with the legendary quests, or if you really want, you can do them just on their own as well. It's not necessarily, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'll get one. So just very briefly with HoloSim itself, it's a 2-player only instance that you can go into, and you can do matchmaking, which I just did, and it just found a partner for me, or you can just go in by yourself. Okay, I would rather be with somebody. Cool, I'm with the Hulk. That's always nice. Alright, so you guys get to see some Gambit as Death. Whoa, he looks really cool. I'm very excited. So the particular quest that I'm on is to complete a total of 10 waves in HoloSim. It's essentially just a wave defense. Like, you can think of it like a tower defense type of thing. And essentially all that we're doing is just doing whatever it says. In this case, we're getting attacked by sentinels, and we basically have to survive and kill as many as we can. The more that we kill, the better the rewards are, basically. and I'm not doing too well. Okay, got bonus experience. I need a med kit. Woo! That is a lot of sentinels. Ah, missiles! So many missiles. Okay, now we're okay. So you can see the holosim can be fairly hectic. You guys are just noticing one wave. You'll see at least two though, so that's nice. Ah, jeez, I'm almost dead again. Which is ironic. You would think that Gambit as Death wouldn't be able to die, but you know, whatever. Semantics. All right. So the shared crests are a new thing. This is actually one way that we can get points for the Omega system, the new advancement system. And I'll show you how that works in just a little... Oh my god, this is ridiculous. Oh, so many. 52 pickup. Hiya. Eat that. If you're wondering, these the sort of light greenish orbs that are dropping, those are basically bonus experience that we get. Okay, and then at the end of each wave, we get a nice chest that we get to open up here. I thought I had 9 done. I'm sorry about that. Ooh, I got a rune! It's a day rune. That's actually a fairly rare one. It's not ridiculously rare, but relatively. Okay. So let's see. I might get... So I just switched over to my Omega, so we've got the experience bar here and then the Omega bar. You can see the Omega bar is almost filled. And because it's almost filled, that means that I'll probably get an Omega Orb, which is very, very exciting. Okay, so for this particular wave, I've got to defend the VIP people that are here. Or I guess just the VIPs, not the very important people. Doesn't make sense. So hopefully we can do it. This is a fairly difficult wave, but it seems like my partner's okay. I don't really know what he's doing. One thing that you can do with this is you can go around and get additional experience by saving the people. You can see the little icon that says civilian there. If you save them, then you get bonus experience, but I don't know if this guy realizes that we can certainly fail this still, which is not pleasant. Alright, I just need this one though, and then I'll have the shared quest completed though. Plus I get to play as Gambit as Death. Alright, I'll go back to Holosim again once I start talking about loot and all that kind of stuff as well. But that's going to be a little bit later on in this video. Almost done. Just 40 seconds left. Most of these are essentially a countdown timer. And typically it's just you have to survive for however long it says. And if you do, then congratulations, you win, good job, go eat a cookie type of thing. More often than not. Sometimes it's like you have to defeat a certain number of bad guys. Sometimes you just have to save a particular number of people that are just spread out all over the map. Oh, please don't take out all these civilians. We should be fine. The other ones that we've got are still fairly well leveled. I didn't get the Omega point though, that's kind of depressing. Okay. There we go. I think that it says it's cleared once we start the next one. Hopefully it's not glitched out. We'll see. There were some bugs earlier with the shared quest thing. It's a recent implementation, so yeah, they might be screwed up. We'll see. I'll try this one, and if this one doesn't work, then I'll just say whatever. Don't worry about it. But like I said, I'll talk all about the different locations that these take place in. So no worries there. In this case, this is obviously the Holosim. I should be able to get that Omega sphere now. Okay, come on. Ooh, relic, nice. You may have noticed some of these weird drops that, like right here we got what looks like the giant Wolverine claws, and then over here the big Sentinel head. Those are what are known as gifts in the game. And essentially, if you pick one up, they give you some specific bonus. The Wolverine one gives you more attack, and the Sentinel head gives you additional experience. Both of which are obviously really good. This one right here that just popped out gives you a faster speed. So you can see there an Omega Point just popped out. That nice blue lightning ball looking thing. And again, I'll talk about how to utilize those a little bit later on. I really hope that this shared quest works. They were really worried about them, but we'll see. Alright, I just leveled up as well, which is always nice. Oh, we gotta get the little thing up here. There we go. It did work. Huzzah! So again, we got the Omega Point from the shared quest that I just completed. We got all the experience from that nice chest there. There's an activated X gene for us, which is very nice. I'm going to take this relic. Okay, and for the sake of ease, I'm gonna leave. This isn't a good thing to do. I don't recommend doing that. So that's the shared quests, and essentially that's all that they do, and you can keep doing them over and over and over as well, just like legendary quests. If you really like the holosim, I could have just stayed in there and just done holosim over and over and over. Okay, and the nice thing is that every day they change. It's going to be a different thing each time that you log in. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move right on ahead into my next little subcategory involved with the additional advancement. This one is going to be the hero synergies.
I'm never gonna understand why we...
Alright, so simply because I had played him a little bit earlier, I'm going to bring out Ghost Rider for talking about the hero synergies, because I never set them. The hero synergies are permanent bonuses that you get essentially for getting characters leveled up. So you can see here this big thing that looks like a teardrop that says synergy points. That means that we get to spend them, okay? So you can see here I currently have 0 out of 10, and basically what this is at 2 spots, when you reach level 25 and when you reach level 50, you get these bonuses unlocked that you can then put on any of your characters. You have to be in a hub, and you open up again this window with V. And when you do it, then you can see what each person has. So for example, Black Panther, you get increased move speed and increased melee damage. Okay, lots of different stuff here. Okay, tons of really cool things. There's a couple specifically that I want to point out though. The first and most important is Cyclops, believe it or not. The reason that Cyclops is the most important is because he is arguably the best leveling synergy you can possibly have. The reason being that at level 50, Cyclops gives you 10% additional experience. 10%. Starting at level 1. It's insane and hugely, hugely helpful. So awesome. So I'm going to put that on Ghost Rider right now. In addition, we've got Deadpool and Gambit. They give some pretty cool stuff. Deadpool gives you additional rare item find. That's stuff like the unique items. Very, very good. Nice stuff. Okay, definitely want that. Gambit gives you 5 bonus credits, which again, you're never really going to be strapped for credits, but it's nice to have. But then at level 50, my Gambit's obviously not 50, he gives you rare item find as well. Deadpool at level 50 gives you special item find. So both of them very good for farming purposes. That said, at the very, very, very beginning of this video, I mentioned that you've got basic character classes. You've got melee classes, you've got range classes, you've got hybrid classes. More often than not, these synergies will gear themselves towards specific classes. So for example, 2% melee power damage. Obviously you don't want that on somebody like the Human Torch. They don't do any sort of melee fighting. By the same token, the Human Torch's synergy is area power damage. You're not going to want that on somebody like Daredevil, who essentially just goes and smacks them around with the billy clubs. Okay? Everybody does have some area powers, but some of them utilize them a lot more than others. That said, there are also some really good general synergies. I already mentioned Cyclops, Deadpool, and Gambit, but you also have the Hulk, who just gives you additional health. Always nice to have, right? You've got Iron Man, gives you additional energy damage and ranged power damage. Not exceedingly general, but still pretty good. Luke Cage gives you plus to defense. Always good to be more defensive. Punisher, health on enemy defeat. Awesome for anybody. Spider-Man, additional dodge. Always nice to be able to avoid attacks. Storm, plus spirit, just plain spirit. Excellent. Everybody loves spirit. Everybody loves to have it. Okay? But like I said, by and large, a lot of these are really geared towards specific types of builds. Not all of them are, but a decent amount of them are. So for example, something like Squirrel Girl, damage versus bosses, it's not a bad thing. It's certainly good for pretty much anybody, but not a great deal of usability across the board, essentially. It's a relatively uncommon thing. Not exceedingly, but relatively. Okay, so I'm just going to pick a couple other things. I am Ghost Rider right now, so that means that we want... Oh, here, I'll take Critical from Cable. I don't know. Area, definitely with that Inferno, always nice. I believe he does mental damage. I don't know if I have anybody who has mental. Maybe Psylocke. There we go, mental damage. And actually, no, I'm done. Duh. Okay, so we apply, and there we go. Now you can see it says Ghost Rider synergies, and all of the pluses that I get to the different stats. Awesome. Great. So this is a really, really cool, unique way to gear your, not necessarily gear your characters, but to give your characters a certain flavor, an additional little something. Okay, that's what both of these systems are. We've got the Hero Synergy as well as the Omega system. Both of these are designed for the same purpose, where they give you additional bonuses that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get. In a way, you can sort of think of them as additional relics. They aren't by any means, because they're not items, obviously, but they're similar in the sense that they give you some kind of a bonus from just being there. It's a passive bonus that the only thing you have to do is just set it. That's all that you need to do. Once you've done that, you're done. Okay? So again, it comes down a lot to how do you want to play. If you want to play a character that really goes a lot melee, even if you have a potential hybrid, so for example, Deadpool uses guns and his swords. More often than not, you'll see people doing primarily the swords, simply because it's been better, but more and more people are going hybrid or full ranged, and it just depends on how you want to play as far as what synergies to use, just like with pretty much everything else, right? Just depends on how you personally wish to play the game. Alright, so moving right along, I'm going to go ahead and move into one of the very, very exciting new features for Marvel Heroes, the Omega system. So, for the Omega system, we open it up the same way that we open up the Hero Synergies with V, and then it's just this second tab here, the Omega system. I haven't opened it with Ghost Rider, that's why we got this little window. And essentially, the way that it works can be a little bit mind-bending, but basically what happens is you earn Omega points. Oh, excuse me. You've seen me now a few times earn some Omega points. I've got a decent amount. It's actually not too many, but still it's able to do some stuff. Okay, and the way it works, across your entire account you have the Omega experience. The cap that you have for Omega points currently is 7,500. You can have a maximum of 7,500 Omega points, okay, for your account. Now the way it works is you have however many Omega points that you have, and then just like with the synergies, you spend them individually for the character. Okay, so the way that I wrote this down, I wrote it down kind of nicely, right? You do not have 7,500 points for all of your characters. You have 7,500 points for each of your characters, essentially. Okay? That doesn't mean you have to collect 7,500 every single time for every single character. Once you have 7,500 points, everybody has it. Okay? So essentially, the Shield Omega program canonically, for the comic books, for the purpose of the background, it was an organization that was designed to deal with what are called Omega level threats. For those of you familiar with X-Men, you may be familiar with Omega level mutants, who are just exceedingly ridiculously powerful. Alright, and that's where all this comes from. So the Omega program consists of several sort of subcategories. Right? We've got psionics, we've got molecular adjustment, neural enhancement, cosmic entities, which is currently locked, arcane attunement, interstellar exploration, which is currently locked, special weapons support, extra-dimensional travel, which is currently locked, mutation, currently locked, radioactive origins, temporal manipulation, currently locked, nanotechnology, supernatural investigation, locked, and finally human augmentation. Okay, so each one of these has its own like sort of flavor text that they put in there, and it's really neat. They each have some really interesting shapes with just the crazy stuff that they're able to do. Um, but essentially, all that it is just literally another way to advance your character. Okay, so for example, let's go to psionics. These are obviously all things related to psionic characters within the Marvel Universe, and you can see you've got all sorts of flavor text on all of these. And the way it works is if nodes are connected, then basically you have to get the nodes before you can sort of move down the tracks. Same thing for the inside here. And you can see each one has a different shape. So like here, after you get the crystals, then you can unlock more of these, or you can just get the outer ones. Each of the enhancements also has different levels that you can go up. And so you can start out, you obviously start off with level 1, and then you can move up and up and up. They have all sorts of enhancements, all sorts of bonuses that you can get, much, much, much bigger than the hero synergy system. This thing is absolutely ridiculously enormous, and it's only going to get bigger, which I think is incredibly awesome. I'm super excited about it. But at a most basic level, there are several things that are really good to start off with. Let me see. I don't think it's Arcane Attunement, although this one's pretty good. You just get straight up +1 Spirit. That's always nice. Once you get a decent number of ranks in that, then that's always going to be good. Rare Item Find, which is always nice. Some of these are really expensive. I don't know if you can see. For the Rare Item Find, that costs 50 Omega Points. 50. So definitely not worthwhile for me. I don't even have enough. I've only got 13. Okay, so that clearly doesn't work. Let's see. There are a few that I know I can afford. There we go. There's one, Stark. Okay, so the microsurgery experimental robotics. All right, we've got some nifty little flavor text to relate it back to the comic books, which is very exciting. It's a really, really integrated thing. It costs 5 points, and you get 5 experience for every enemy that you defeat. That adds up very, very quickly. Okay, so what? Oh, I have to be level 30? Oh, weak. I didn't realize that. Okay, fine. Well, then let's go to Deadpool, because Deadpool's level 34. Okay, well, now you know, too. You have to be level 30 in order to do it. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. I probably should have, right? So, oh, look, the Omega system. Okay, now, gimme. Mine. Okay, so you can see you can have a total of 25 ranks in at least this particular power. And then, see, look, 34 health regeneration per minute. That's kind of low, but you can get more and more and more, and it adds up very quickly. Okay, we can get more XP. Okay, more XP for enemy defeat, and there are also a couple other ones that are really nice. I don't remember exactly where they are. It wasn't psionics. I know that there was at least one other experience one that was relatively cheap that I could afford with my like no points. Okay. Gain 1 spirit when you use a med kit. That's not great. But essentially, just as I'm scrolling through this, you can pretty clearly see how enormous of a system this is and how much potential it has for all of this stuff. And not only that, but there's only a relatively small number of them that are actually unlocked. Okay, beyond that, there's going to be a lot more. Okay, I guess that was the only one. Oh well. Regardless, there you go. XP per enemy defeat. Oh, I got a second rank in that. I didn't even realize it. I must have double-clicked. Okay, and one other important note for the Omega system is you can reset the Omega points, and all that it does is it takes a retcon potion. Same thing as with the powers. I got to respend those. We had a reset. So same thing with the powers. If you spend a retcon potion, then you can redo all of your powers. If you spend a retcon potion, you can redo the Omega. Okay. Really, really awesome brand new advancement system that came out with the anniversary. Very, very exciting. Really cool. Tons of potential. I can't wait to get more than 13 points. It's going to be awesome. I'm super excited to really use it more. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move on to the next major category for all of this stuff, which is going to be acquiring new characters and shopping for this game both in and out of it. As I mentioned, I'm going to go right on ahead and start talking about making in-game purchases, particularly with regard to getting new characters. This is a really, really fun part of this game because, as I've been mentioning throughout, currently there are 34 characters that we can get, and it's really, really exciting. In addition, during this little segment here, I'm also going to discuss a little bit about the idea of this being a free-to-play game, because a lot of people have not really misconceptions about it, but basically bad experiences from other games. So to kick everything off, we'll start off with how to get characters for free. Essentially, I mentioned earlier that we collect these Eternity Splinters. So the way that Eternity Splinters work is actually very, very simple. Essentially, between 4 and 8 minutes as you're playing, every 4 to 8 minutes, one of them will drop. The way that you increase this chance is with what's known as the SIF stat, more commonly called the Special Item Finder, rather that's what it stands for. And in my case, let me see here, where did SIF go? There it is. I have a 30% even special item find boost. Okay, the higher that the special item find goes, the less time interval between when you find splinters. So essentially, the idea is the more you play, the more you'll be able to get. Easy enough, right? So the way that we spend those is with our friend the Eternity Splinter vendor that I mentioned briefly earlier. And we can see this funky little symbol, the orange looking weird thing, is exactly that. It's just the Eternity Splinters because this is the Eternity Splinter vendor. So you can see that there are a decent number of things that we can buy. We can get the team ups for one thing, and then there are essentially two ways for us to purchase the what's it called? Now I don't even remember. There are two ways for two essentially different types of purchases that we can make for characters with the Eternity Splinters. You can either buy the character directly, and you can see here you've got Black Panther, Black Widow, Cable, Captain America, etc., etc., or you can take a little bit of a risk and you can just get a random hero box. The random hero boxes are always 175 Eternity Splinters. The characters themselves range from 200 Eternity Splinters up to 600. And essentially it goes 2, 4, or 600. So you can see here Black Panther, for example, is 400, Black Widow is 2, Cable is 4, etc., etc. Deadpool, whom I'm on right now, is a 600, just like Doctor Strange is a 600, Ghost Rider, I think Spider-Man is a 600 as well. So obviously the upper tier things. So the idea with the random hero box is it is literally completely random. It has nothing to do with any of the characters you've acquired. It has nothing to do with your rare item find or special item find stats. It is completely random. It will be any one of the currently released characters, regardless of who's been released and when. Okay, so that's that, and that's the way that you get these characters for free, essentially. By the same token, you can also do two other methods to acquire characters. First is the in-game store, which again we pull up by pressing X, and if we go right over here to Heroes, and then we can see we can just purchase all of these random heroes here. Okay, so for example, again, I'm only missing 5 characters right now, so you can see it says own for most of these. And if you purchase with G, which is again the in-game store currency, the characters are essentially more expensive compared to their Eternity Splinter prices. So for example, Captain America is 900 G, but he's actually 400 Eternity Splinters. Okay, I believe Deadpool is 1350 G, so essentially $13, $13.50 to purchase Deadpool from the in-game store. Okay, so just to show you, I happen to be missing him and I really want him. I'm going to go ahead and get Rocket Raccoon here. And buy now. Yes, please. Woo! Hero unlocked. Yay, Rocket Raccoon. So when you unlock a hero, you get this little blurb, which is just the bio that you see in the character screen. So essentially it's just whatever goes here in the bio. And I want to switch over to Rocket Raccoon now because he's awesome. And I can get Groot now. Very exciting. Yay, Rocket!
Raccoons in space!
Yes, indeed, raccoons in space. So that's how you just purchase characters from the in-game store. Just very briefly, as a side note, just talking about the rest of the store in general. There's a ton of other stuff that you can purchase. Obviously, I went over a fair amount of it earlier on, but I want to go over some of it in more detail now. First, the costumes. The way that it works is very simple. You just click on the tab here, and then you can scroll over to whatever costumes you want. Right here, you've got the Choose a Hero. So if we go to, let's completely randomly, let's say Rocket Raccoon, we see we've got some really cool costumes for him. I really like the office attire. I think it's hilarious. But yeah, we got that one's kind of mean. I don't really like that one. It's scary. Okay, so that's how you purchase costumes from the in-game store. Again, these all cost G, which is, oh, poor Psylocke only has the one additional costume. Taskmaster too. Let's get some of you guys more. There we go, Storm. Okay, so easy enough, right? That's how you purchase costumes. In addition, costumes are an extremely rare drop in the game. I'll talk a little bit more about that later when I talk about Fat Loot, but essentially if you want a very specific costume, this is how you're going to do it, is purchase it through the store. Okay. In addition, we've got all of the items here. So we've got pets, which I discussed earlier. The pet slot is this little thing right here, the little paw print, and you can get all sorts of different ones. Some of these you can also get from fortune cards as well, but by and large, most of them you have to purchase if you really want them. Okay, talking about boosts very quickly. Boosts are invaluable in this game. You can never have enough boosts. Okay, the experience boosts, rarity boosts, special item boosts. The triple boost gives you the rare item find, the experience, and the special item find. All boosts are always good. Okay, so there are essentially two basic types of boosts. You have the ones that look like drinks, and you have the ones that look like candy bars. Okay, the most important difference between the two, besides how long they last, is how they work together. If you were to use two experience boosts, these 2-hour experience boosts, if you use two at the same time, then essentially what happens is you end up just getting 4 hours. That's all that happens. Okay. By contrast, if you take two of the candy bar style boosts, they actually stack with each other, and they stack up to 5. You can see here with the numbers. If you have one, then that's an additional 100%. If you have two, it's 150. 3 is 180, 190, and then 200. So I would ask, why on earth would you bother using more than one? Because there is obviously very, very diminishing returns on these, but that's how the bars work. Is they actually end up stacking with one another. Okay, so that's it for the boosts. We also have these 3 things: the holographic crafter, the access, the shield, the stash access card, and the holographic weapon vendor. Essentially what that is you're out in the field, you're out somewhere doing whatever you want, and you can't get back for whatever reason. So normally when you get back, or in order to get back, you use B, the key, and that is your body slider, and it will essentially bring you back to a hub. Okay, but let's say you're in the middle of something, you just don't want to leave, whatever it happens to be. You can have one of these access cards, and they essentially create a holographic version of whatever it is that you wanted. You can either have the crafter vendor, you can have the stash, the big crate looking thing here, or you can summon the weapon vendor. Okay, and you can buy, sell, donate, all that kind of stuff with it. Okay, so that's those. And then unstable molecules, those are important for higher level crafting recipes. They do drop in the world, but very, very rarely. Same thing, the matrix of unbinding, that does pretty much exactly what it says, where it unbinds artifacts, weapons, or armor for whatever reason. Normally you would use that for artifacts, but basically you never really have to use these. Okay, the only reason to really use those is well, really never. Literally. There is never really any good reason to use a Matrix of Unbinding unless you find the absolute perfect artifact and your favorite hero hasn't come out and you want to save it for that one, but you still want to use that artifact. That's the only time I can really think that you would need to use it. Okay, team-ups I already discussed a decent amount, but again, you can buy them with G here in the in-game store. Same thing, the fortune cards if you feel like gambling a little bit. And then most of the stuff I already discussed, so I won't really talk about it anymore. But suffice it to say that that is the in-game store. This is how you make a good deal of purchases. There are quite a few purchases that you can make. Okay. As far as acquiring characters, there is one additional way. We've got the Eternity Splinters, which I talked about, the in-game store, which I also talked about, and the final way is on the Marvel Heroes website. If you go to store.marvelheroes.com, then you will be greeted with all of the hero packs. And essentially what the hero pack is you get the character unlocked, you get their specific stash tab, you get, typically you'll get 1 or 2 retcon devices, you'll get at least 1 additional costume, and then you'll get a bunch of fortune cards. So I actually got the I actually got the bundle for Spider-Man, and that's why I've got the Spider-Man stash tab, and I've also got extra costumes for him. Okay, the costume that I currently have on Spider-Man I actually got from a fortune card. That's why there are 2 in there. Normally there would only be 1. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the store and everything. So essentially, again, that's how you're going to be getting most of the characters, and that is how you can get a lot of the boosts. So just to sort of segue into the next section, I'm going to keep talking about the same type of stuff, but focus on the principle that this game is a free-to-play. So as far as this game being a free-to-play is concerned, I know a lot of people have a lot of reservations about playing games that are free-to-play, because more often than not, free-to-play always means you have to pay to win. And that is a huge problem with all sorts of games of this sort. You'll see it a lot, primarily on social network games. You see it all the time. Right? If you don't pay money, then your competition will surpass you, your friends will start to laugh at you, and blah, 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 blah. For this game, you really do not have that. Okay? You do not have the idea of pay to win. Rather, you can pay to, essentially you pay to get stuff faster, right? No matter what, if you play this game long enough, you will be able to unlock all of the characters. You will, although very, very unlikely, potentially be able to get all of the costumes. You will be able to get all of the uniques. You will be able to get all of this stuff. It's not a question, it's just a fact. So essentially for this game, paying for it, all it does is it lets you do stuff more efficiently. Okay, so for example, with unique items are really the creme de la creme of the items that you always want to get with your characters. And the thing is that you cannot simply pay money and say, here, I pay you money, I get a unique item. You cannot do that. And I think that is a wonderful decision because of the fact that you can't pay and receive an item of whatever sort it is. That means that you just by that, you have a much more level playing field of everything that's going on, which is wonderful. It's great. Okay. That said, like I just mentioned with the store, you do have a lot of boosts. Okay. The boosts obviously increase your likelihood of finding these items. You won't necessarily find them, but they do increase the likelihood. Okay. But that said, again, it really comes down to playtime. If you are a person who is not paying for the game, but you play very, very frequently, then you will get stuff fairly quickly. Okay, it's just a simple fact, and it's great. It's a really nice thing. It's a wonderful thing with this game particularly. In addition, as far as the boosts are concerned, there are several ways that you can get boosts for free. Okay, one of which I'll talk about later on. And the one I'm going to talk about later on is with terminals. And I'm going to talk about that when I talk about the end game and the fat loot. Okay, and I'll demonstrate what you can do in just a little bit. One of the ways is what I mentioned very briefly during my leveling section, which is once you are at the stage of being able to do all this stuff and you can level and all this kind of thing, then when you do some of the story quests, you actually get boosts as quest rewards. So then you can use them on whatever character you wish to farm with, and then you can hopefully go and find whatever it is that you desire. Okay. The last thing is for the purposes of the what's it called? For the terminals, you end up getting an item called a cube shard, which I'll talk about later on again. Okay, and after you get 10 cube shards, you can turn them in to Clea here, the cube shard vendor, and you can get a free fortune card. Okay, and again, the fortune cards have all sorts of cool stuff in them, including a whole bunch of boosts. All right, now these are specifically the fortune card Mark 1s, and we do have Mark 1 through 6, but I actually personally really like 2 the best, but I think that fortune card Mark 1 is a really close second, maybe third, as far as the potential things that you can get. You've got pets, you've got costumes, you've got boosts, you've got the portal to the bovine sector, which I'll talk about in the loot. All sorts of crazy stuff like this. All right, it's awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and buy one just so we can see how good my luck is. Hopefully it'll be good because it'll realize I'm making a video. And I got a rush bar. Okay, but again, this is an experience boost that I can use to get to essentially double the experience that I gain while I'm playing the game. It's a wonderful boon that you can have. All right, it's a really great boost. All right, so as far as free to play, this is an example of a game that does it well. There are certainly games that do free to play very poorly. Part of that is the fact that this game is very non-competitive by and large. The vast majority of it is cooperative, so you don't have to worry about dealing with other people and all that kind of stuff too much. But even so, it is really nice to see a game make the free-to-play system work. Okay, and in part the way that they do that is by having these large-scale content updates and weekly patches that fix bugs, add new things. We've got weekly events where we get free gifts, all kinds of stuff. Okay, it keeps people coming back, and the fact is, if you can establish a player base that is willing to keep coming back to your game, if nothing else than simply to see what's going on, then you will be able to get them to pay for a lot of stuff. Okay, and in this case, Gazillion could easily force people to pay to like access specific content, almost like downloadable content for like console games and stuff like that. Gazillion could do that, but the community would be furious. All right, it just would not work because nobody would buy it. Okay, simply out of protest, essentially. So it's a really great example of a free-to-play that works. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move right along ahead and start talking about interactions with other players and how partying and the supergroups and all that kind of stuff can help you out. So, to start off with talking about socializing in this game, the first thing that I'm going to remind you of is the social window, which once again is O. If you press O, then it brings up your social window, which shows all your friends, if you have any, which I clearly don't. Anybody who's nearby, and again, just like before, I'm in a hub right now, so there's plenty of people nearby. Anyone that you have ignored, and anybody in your supergroup. Right, so first and foremost, you essentially have your friends and your supergroup. That is sort of like your go-to people that you can go and interact with and talk to and play with and all that kind of stuff. All right, so that's really the most basic social level for this game. That said, the actual social aspects for this game are pretty substantial, and it's actually fairly impressive. But right now, one of the issues I have with the sociability for this is the super groups do not have any sort of specific things that they can do. So we don't have like super group specific hubs that we can go to. We don't have like shared stashes where we can easily exchange items, things like that, or just like instead of donating an item, you basically put it in with the super group, and then if somebody needs it, they can take it out. You know, that kind of stuff. We don't have that right now, but according to the developers, some of that stuff is being planned currently, which is very nice. Okay, the biggest method for the social interaction in this game is the chat. All right, so I'm just going to bigify it here so that you guys can all see. You see that we've got tabs here. If you have played online games, then you're probably familiar with the acronym or the whatever you want to call it, PIST, P-S-T. Okay, I know what it sounds like I just said, but I don't mean it. It's basically just PST. Okay, but essentially for game purposes, it stands for please send tell. All right, so that's why if you can see here, we've got the tell tab. And essentially that's just if anybody whispers to you, that's where it's going to go. You've got a tab specific for your supergroup, or you can. We've got the trade, which I'm going to get to in a little bit, and then LFG, which I'm also going to get to in just a touch. So essentially, just for the chat window, there are a couple of cool things you can do with it. If you right-click on any tab, then you can change what it is. So if you get into a party, then maybe you want to temporarily get rid of your tell tab and then go to it. If you just want to have a tab for all, then you can only have that. If you want, you can close all the other tabs, but it's really, really easy. All you do is right-click. Okay, very, very simple. So moving along from there, the thing that I find most important for the chat tab is the LFG, which is the looking for group. Okay, so looking for group is essentially you would like to join a bunch of other people and share in some common goal of some sort. More often than not, you're going to see people trying to do legendary quests and just gather a bunch of people and go to some of the challenges, which I'll get into when I talk about loot. But that's typically what you see. Now we do have raids, which is very exciting. Sometimes people will be looking for those. But again, that's more often than not what you'll find is just doing these large-scale things. That's what you'll see for looking for group. But you will also see people who are essentially just like, I need help with this boss, can somebody come and help me, that kind of thing. Normally you would want to go to like a super group or a friend first for that type of thing though. Okay, so that's essentially for the partying up, and just a couple of brief things regarding partying. If you're going to ask random people to party up with you, please be polite about it. All right, I know it's very difficult to not just like go over to the nearby and then you just right click on something and just say party invite. Yay, let's do it. Okay, I know that can be very, very tempting to do, but at least send somebody a tell and just say, hey, is this okay? Can we party up? All right, sending tells is very, very simple. All that you do is when you're typing it out, it's just \W or \PST, and then you type in the person's name. So I'm going to do one of my my fellow compatriots in the super group, and just say demo. I know that you can't really see that very well, but basically just \W and then type in name. Okay, and after you type in \W and then the person's name, then the chat window will change to tell so-and-so and it'll change to purple. Okay, easy enough. You can do the same thing. I think it works for group as well. It might. No, it doesn't. I know supergroup works. Yeah. So, you know, you can check out all the different chat commands. There's all sorts of crazy stuff that you can do. But getting back to my point, if you're going to ask somebody to party up with you, please just send them a quick message and say, hey, do you want to party up? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? If you are in the heat of battle in, say, the Midtown Manhattan or whatever it happens to be in one of the challenges, then in general, it's okay to just sort of randomly pick people and ask them to party. In general, most people are pretty okay with that because they're probably there for the same reason that you are, and that's perfectly fine. Okay, but just in general, be polite. If you're having trouble, just ask. Okay, that's for LFG. In addition, the one of the most active channels all the time is the social channel, which is exactly what it sounds like. In the social channel, you can essentially talk about pretty much anything that you want. It's social. All right, you can ask questions about the game, say, hey, does this make sense? A lot of people will ask for help in the social channel as well, just all sorts of stuff. It's always fairly active. You can always find people in there, and more often than not willing to answer any questions that you have. But that's pretty much the go-to for if you've got questions about quests or anything like that. Talk about it in social. Okay, trading. Trading is actually very exciting. Very recently we got a official trading window, which is cool. If anybody has ever played the Diablo games, then you'll be familiar with the trading window. I doubt that it works with people who are offline. I just don't want to bug somebody who's online as a demo, but yeah, it doesn't let me do it. So essentially what it does is it brings up the trade window where it says, you know, you put an item in here and somebody else puts the item in here, and then they're securely exchanged. Before we could do this, essentially people would either go to like corners of hubs, or they would go into like the training room that I was in earlier with Nightcrawler, and essentially drop both items and then go across the screen and grab them. Grab whatever the item was that they got now. Okay, kind of lame. And if you remember from my inventory organization and tips for that, I mentioned a lot about what good stats are for specific items. For example, for insignias and rings, you want a lot of critical hit ratings and crit damage. Okay, and one thing that was a lot of problem for a lot of people was just having to type out a bunch of stats and say, this is what I have, can you do it? So now there is a new feature where you can actually link items. Okay, and the way that it works is really simple. All that you do is if you are in your inventory or your team up inventory, whatever it happens to be, all that you need to do is shift and left click on an item, and if you do that, it will automatically get put into the chat window. So essentially what you want to do is you want to have probably trade up already and say, okay, this is in the trade channel, and then you just link the item and say, I'm looking for whatever it is. And by the same token, if somebody let me see if there are any active that I can use. There's plenty. Okay, let's say that there's an item that you want to look at, then all you need to do is the exact same thing. You just shift and right click on it, or left click on it, sorry, and then it'll pull up the exact stats for it, which is really, really nice. It's a lot more convenient than having to type everything out, and in addition, it's a lot nicer because you don't have to worry about people essentially lying about the stats that you're going to be getting. Okay, so the trading, much nicer. Typically you'll set it up in the trade channel and or through whispering. Basically you'll say, hey, I've got this to trade, and then typically somebody will whisper you and say like, hey, I've got this, are you willing to make the trade, whatever it happens to be. Okay, fairly typical trading system that we've got here. Thankfully it's a typical one now, which is very, very exciting. Okay, so like I said, the biggest thing for the what's it called, for the partying is typically for quests. All right, we just started the shared quest, which I demonstrated earlier with Gambit, and in addition to that, the legendary quests for leveling, all of that kind of stuff. All right, so with that, it's a great segue into my next section for this video, which is going to be all about the end game for this, as well as getting all the fat loot and increasing your character vastly. So, now it's time for my personal favorite part of the entire thing. This is where we talk about all of the fat loot that you can get. All of the awesome shinies, alright? So, to start off, there are a couple of very important things that I need to mention. First, I'm going to switch over to Nightcrawler so I can do a quick demo for you. I'm going to shrink down the chat here. So the first thing is I've been mentioning these throughout my my little video here. RIF and SIF, RIF and SIF. All right, they stand for Rare Item Find and Special Item Find, respectively. And essentially, what they are is the Rare Item Find will let you find things like cosmic items, unique items, the artifacts, and the Uru Forged. All right, so essentially, items that you can put into these slots. That is what Rare Item Find is for. The Special Item Find helps you with relics, it helps you with costumes, runes, eternity splinters, and then the fortune cards and the gifts. So the fortune card Mark 1s that I ranted about a little while ago can actually drop as loot. You can also get retcon potions, all sorts of crazy stuff, okay? So relics are Special Item Find, runes are Special Item Find, but then essentially everything else is all Rare Item Find. Alright, so those are two very important numbers that you need to know before you start going out and just randomly farming and trying to get stuff. The other very important caveat for this is I will mention once again the RNG. Alright, everybody hates the RNG. It is the random number generator that determines what you get, when you get it, how good it is, and all of that kind of stuff. Okay? Lots and lots and lots of people hate the RNG. I have gotten some very bad luck from the RNG. I have also gotten very good luck from the RNG. Okay? But I mean, that's just the way that it is, unfortunately, all right? RNG is RNG. That's what everybody says. And the fact is it's true because it is random. That's all that it is, right? What Rare Item Find and Special Item Find do is they increase your chances to get these items, okay? So that said, we'll go ahead and jump right on into it. And I'm actually going to switch over to somebody else here. Let me see, who do I want? I think I got to respec most of these people, which is a little depressing. But we will go, let's go with Iron Man. Iron Man's pretty awesome. You gotta reallocate the power points
I'm armored up and ready to
and all that good stuff. I don't remember my exact build, but I remember it mostly. So we're gonna take Iron Man on a little trip here to do some pretty cool stuff. So we'll see how it goes. Give me Jericho, Jericho, Jericho. Lots of Jericho. The one-off, I love the one-off. Okay. And then we need our shield. We need the overload. I'll max out the shield. So, what else? Oh, Pulse Bolt. How can I possibly forget Pulse Bolt? It's terrible. Terrible
You're in
thing.
Avenger 2, Wolverine? Aren't you on, like, 12 teams already?
Alright. Sorry this is taking so long. But this way you can see some of the cool stuff that Iron Man can do at least. I believe that's most of it. I know I've got 9 points left, but I honestly don't remember exactly where to put them. I'll just put them in the missile controls. Again, we can retcon it later, so no worries. Alright, now we need to go right on ahead and put everything in its spot. Got Pulse Bolt there, and then we've got the wrist rocket on there, micro missiles. Oh, whoops. I forgot to switch my mouse profile. I fail. Okay. And then our one-off. And our medic. And then we've got the hyper velocity charge. A-do-do-do, a-do-do, a-do-do-do, a-do-do. I got that backwards. Okay. I think we are ready to go. Let me see here. Okay. I don't know why that didn't work. That's weird. Okay, sorry about that. So, it takes so long to do that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Midtown Patrol, also known as Midtown Manhattan. Essentially, when you're farming for items, when you want to do the end game, all that kind of stuff, this is more farming than it is end game, but essentially you want to be in a place that has a whole lot of bad guys. The more bad guys that you've got, the better off you're going to be. Okay, so here we got a Sentinel. Take that, Sentinel. Owned. Alright. Alright, so the more mobs, the more bad guys that you've got in an area, the more likely it is that you're going to be able to get good items. Because essentially you are rolling on the loot tables, as they're called. There's see an Eternity Splinter drop, that's always nice. If you're rolling on the loot tables more and more and more, it's more likely that you're going to get good stuff, basically. Okay, and like I mentioned, this is a good spot for teaming up for quests of all different sorts. You can also just come here and just take stuff out. It's decently good for leveling as well. You can just come up here and just randomly take stuff down, preferably with boosts, so that you can get some good leveling action, which is always nice. But yeah, I mean, there all sorts of goodness comes from Midtown. Lots of fun stuff. I'm not going to stay here too much longer. But essentially this is the way that it works. You can see it says next wave in 3 minutes and 15 seconds. That is the next wave of bosses. Every 3 minutes and 20 seconds or so, there is a wave of bosses that comes. It's random who they are or what they do, or yeah, basically just who they are. And that's pretty much it. A lot of times we'll see Midtown boosted because of specific events that are going on, all sorts of cool stuff. Do I have any other notes? Yeah, I mean, basically just a really good way to grind stuff, just to go out and get some good stuff. Now, as far as actual endgame stuff, there isn't a whole lot. But one of the good grindy places / endgame is X Defense. I mentioned it very briefly earlier when I was talking about leveling. But X Defense is another challenge. You can see here we got X Defense. And it works very similarly. So one thing I forgot to mention is Midtown Patrol is available from basically 1 through 60. X Defense is the same way. It's available from 1 to 60. Okay, so now I just went into the queue to get into X Defense, and we got a match here. So I will go ahead and hop in very briefly. One of the nice things for X Defense is you really get very good quality items for the time investment. For the time that you put in, you get a lot out of it, essentially. And that is particularly true for the very end, because what this essentially is a wave defense. The higher you go, the better the loot gets. At the end, after you lose, regardless of how long it takes, then there's going to be a chest at the end that appears at the front of the Xavier Mansion. And look, I got a artifact. It's not a very good artifact, but it's an artifact. A chest appears at the front of the Xavier Mansion, and that is where most of the really good goodies are. Alright, that's where a lot of the really good stuff hangs out. Okay? But for our purposes here, X Defense, it's really good for leveling. You get awesome leveling chops for this. And it's also good for finding items later on. Especially if you crank up your Riff and Sif values, you can find a good number of uniques in just a few runs or even fewer. Okay? Yay! So the reason that chest was there is because if there aren't bosses on X Defense, then you get a chest after the wave. So you can see here next wave in 8, 7, blah 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 blah, etc. etc. I'll stay for at least one more wave, and then I'm probably gonna leave to talk about the next thing. So you get to go take on the Cliff Walkers now. Hiya! Ba-boom, ba-boom. So once again, just like with Midtown Manhattan, what you're seeing here is, in essence, a large group of mobs that you are constantly rolling on loot tables for, and you can get a lot of good stuff. These are, without a doubt, the highest concentrations of mobs that you'll be able to find. Okay, really helpful. Very nice. So I'm actually going to do something that most people really can't stand, and frankly I don't blame them. I'm going to end up leaving in the middle. It's really not a great thing to do because the fewer people you have, obviously it gets harder. Eventually you get what are called split waves, where you've got half of the guys, you know, like I'll open up the big map, you'll have half of the group over here and the rest of them over here. So if you don't have the full group of 5 people, it can be very, very frustrating. I'll just go ahead and do this one more. So this isn't quite a boss. I haven't gotten a boss wave, which is very strange. Normally the bosses are more common than these other ones. Either way, go ahead and do this. So essentially you can see clearly this is for 5 people, which is one of the nice things is you don't have to worry as much about playing perfectly. It is still obviously very preferable for you to be near the group and to actually help out, but it's not completely required that you play to the absolute maximum that your character can do. Okay, that's going to come into play in the next area. I'm going to go ahead and leave here, unless a boss comes. Do we get boss? Of course we get a boss. Oh well. No, we don't have time. Nope, 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 can't do it. So next I'm going to dive right into the Hollow Sim. Right, the Hollow Sim is somewhat similar to X Defense in that it is a wave defense. And let me hop over to Hawkeye here real quick. I'm going over to Hawkeye because he's level 1, and I just want to see what all is available to him. So there, see, Midtown Patrol, the Hollow Sim, and X Defense. That's all that you have unlocked at level 1, and frankly that's all you need. You don't need anything else. Okay, but for the Hollow Sim, you saw that earlier when I was playing as Gambit, where again it's a wave defense. You actually get more treasure chests out of it, because essentially after every single wave you get one. But that said, it can be pretty frustrating and very difficult because it's only 2 people as opposed to X Defense, which is, you know, 5. Okay, so I'm not going to do it. You saw it with the Gambit one, and actually I'll just put it over. So basically here we go with the Hollow Sim again. We've got all sorts of different waves that can come up, so it's really nice. You get a lot of variety, so in that sense it's really fun, but at the same time you do have to play more efficiently since it is only 2 people. Okay, and in addition, in the Hollow Sim, if you or your partner or a combination thereof gets defeated twice, then you're done. In X Defense, you can die as many times as you want. Well, not want, but as many times as you do, and it doesn't matter. You don't ever get kicked out. Alright? So that's that. The other major, really basic loot grinding is the terminals, and I promised to talk about these earlier on, and the reason I wanted to talk about them now is because of these. You can see the cube shard is now available from this mission. Huzzah! Right? The cube shards are what I traded in earlier with Rocket in order to get the fortune card. Okay, so this is how you get them. Essentially, there is a total, I believe it's a dozen now, terminals, and there are 2 versions. You've got the green terminals, which are easier, and you've got the red terminals, which are harder. The cosmic terminals I'll talk about in a little bit. Okay, but that's how you get your cube shards, and essentially you can get a total of 24 every single day. These are essentially daily quests that reset every day. I'm going to go ahead and hop into the Taskmaster Institute so you can see. Essentially all of these function in the same type of way, where they are part of the story in some form, and you are essentially just playing a miniature portion of the canonical story that's in the game already. It's just that you are in the one area where some specific boss is. Okay, so like I said, there are quite a few now. I'm just skipping straight to Taskmaster here, just so you can see the boss. Just take him out quick. Just go ahead and use my ultimate so that we can take him down even faster. And we're done. Oh, sweet! Cosmic Medal. Score. That's pretty awesome. Okay, and so I just picked up my cube shard. You saw there was a decent amount of money, the little credit piles, and also got the experience. And the medal happened to be a cosmic version, which is very, very exciting. Right, so you can see we got that nice blue, and the Taskmaster medal, incidentally, is pretty good. It's sort of the jack of all trades medal. It's not exceedingly good at one thing, but it's decent at a bunch of things. So that's it for the basic red and green terminals. All right, moving on from there are the now relatively infamous cosmic terminals. So the cosmic terminals are different in several ways. First and most importantly, they are much, much harder. Okay. Second, you can only access these when you are level 60. For the green and the red terminals, you can start playing them when you're level 20. Okay. Cosmic terminals only level 60. Okay. So we'll go to Hood's hideout now. One of the other key features here is not only are they more difficult, but because they're more difficult, the rewards are much better. Okay, so you can see here the Hood's hideout, defeat the Hood, and then we have the Bounty Hunter quest. Essentially, the Bounty Hunter quest is simply if you defeat enough of the bad guys, then you'll get a better shiny chest at the end. That's basically all that that means. Okay, so I'll just get one of the bounties on this, which is 125 bad guys, which is still quite a few. It's going to take a decent amount of time. Once you're geared properly for these, this is really a lot of good end game loot gathering. Okay, once you're able to reach that point. Once you can do these comfortably, then you will be very, very well off. Okay, and that's a lot of people will benchmark character builds using cosmic terminals and sometimes red terminals, not nearly as often as they were before though. Now it's mostly the cosmic terminals, being able to do these by yourself. If you can do that, then you're good, basically. It means that not only do you know how to play your character, but they are built efficiently. So you can see even right now, I mean, I'm obviously fighting the minor mobs, but from what I was doing earlier with fighting mobs with various characters, you can tell very clearly that this is taking much, much longer. These guys are a lot stronger, they're a lot more difficult to take down. Okay, I still haven't gotten anything superbly awesome. Hopefully I can get something decent. I'm not hassling you. You guys stole a cargo ship. That's not cool. Gotta heal. Yeah. Alright. Almost there. Just halfway, essentially. If you're curious about the terminals, I actually have all of the terminals, all the current terminals anyway, guides for every single one of them. And what the quests involved in them require, and how to get them specifically, if you're curious. I still need like 40 of these bad guys, and that's just for one chest. Certain terminals, the cosmic terminals, you'll be able to get more of the bounty chests, more of the really good shiny chests, depending on how long the terminals are, essentially. I think the maximum is 3. But some of them have. Typically, they're mostly 2 though. I think this one might be only 1. And we're about to see the Hood, and by proxy, one of the main reasons that this is called a cosmic terminal. You may have noticed that on some of the bosses, when I hover over them, you can see these words underneath. Those are the affixes that they have. The bosses all have powers that they can call on, be it specific summons, like he's summoning sentinels into a cargo freighter somehow. But the reason that it's mainly called a cosmic terminal is because of the big blue things that are running around. I know that they look similar to those nice happy Omega orbs, but that's what we call the power cosmic, and it will tear you apart very quickly, as you saw there. Okay, hopefully I'll be able to take him out relatively quickly, just to sort of keep this somewhat efficient at least.
I've been looking forward to this.
But you can see he's got a total of 4 affixes that he's utilizing, which can make these battles very, very frustrating and very difficult, without a doubt. Not necessarily in bad ways. I mean, you gotta love a decent challenge. Oh, jeez. Ooh, watch out for those. There we go. At least getting some decent damage on him. He'll be going down fairly soon. Dang. I hadn't planned on running through a full cosmic terminal, so I didn't bother saving the ultimate. Otherwise, I definitely would have instead. Come on, Hood. Feels so close. I better get something worthwhile out of this. This is ridiculous. Give me a unique. Give me a unique. Don't shoot me in the face. Ow. Oh, why do guns hurt so much? It's ridiculous. Alright, well this should do it.
I've been looking forward to this.
No, no, no. There we go. I'm safe.
I've been looking forward to this.
Ah, finally. Oof. So you saw there was quite a bit more loot there compared to when I took out Taskmaster and just the regular red terminal. Although it's not really very good. I didn't even get a cosmic. So like I said, the main thing for this though is the bounty chest, which is that the blue one that's over there. I just want to take these guys out because they're annoying me. Okay. Woo! Whoa! Giant explosions. That's a lot of XP there. Almost have enough for another Omega Orb. So we got some cosmic gloves, we got a rune, got a blue insignia, that might not be terrible. Relic, we got some whatchacolumns. What? I want the whatchacolumns. Weak. Alright, well, now is as good a time as any to demonstrate one of my pets here. Aha! So again, this is the stash access card, and now I've got a holographic stash here that I can use. It takes, I think it's 15 or 30 minutes to reset. So obviously you can't use it all the time. But in a situation like this, where if I leave, all of the loot's going to be gone. I do want to keep a decent amount of this. So, but like this, there. But this belt, no. Okay. So now I can get the whatchacolumns. Yay! I'm gonna open up this. So there's clearly overall better loot, but for the time investment, it can be difficult. But if you're really good at it, then you can move through relatively quickly. Okay, so moving right along. One of the newer features for this game is what's called the one-shot stories. Right? It's in this the same terminal heading here, and right here, one-shot stories. Right now, we've only got one, the Wakandan Mines, and for those unaware of the canon, Wakanda is the country that Black Panther, aka T'Challa, is in charge of, and they have really big vibranium mines. That's where all of the vibranium in the Marvel universe basically comes from, or at least the vast majority of it. And the idea is these one-shot stories are really, really cool. The whole point behind them was to have something that is similar to a story chapter, but something that you can do relatively quickly, and that you can do essentially out of space and time. In other words, it doesn't take place necessarily on the same timeline as the story for the main game. So if you remember, I mentioned for the terminals, each of the terminals is based off of a boss battle or some area in some form that you go through in the game. By contrast, the one-shot stories, you only see those in the one-shot stories. Okay, I'm really excited. I want to see all the cool stuff that they can do. They've talked about doing things that are in different time periods, all sorts of crazy stuff like that. It's going to be really, really awesome. So with that, I'm not going to go into it. I'm not actually going to enter one, but as I'm talking, I'm sure that you've seen that I put up an example of the playthrough that I did at some other point. And the reason I'm not entering into one right now is simply because it's similar to X Defense, where if you leave, then it's really kind of a mean move to do to all the other people. And not only that, but it's something that I want to do all the way through. And it can take a little bit longer than I would really like for it. Okay, so with that, I'm going to move into my personal favorite new feature for this, which is raiding. Alright, so moving right along, talking about raids. This is one of the newest additions to Marvel Heroes, and it's really, really cool. It's really cool for several reasons, actually. Chief amongst which is simply because they're so unique. It's an interesting thing because the highest number of players we used to be able to play with was 5 in something like X Defense, or you can party up in Midtown, whatever it happens to be. But now we can have up to 10 people in these raids going after essentially boss after boss after boss. If you have played any MMORPG ever, then you have probably been in a raid at some point. But one of the other things that is really unique is this is the first time ever that any raids have been implemented into an ARPG. And just like before with the one-shots, I'm not going to go in there right now, but basically it's in the challenges here, and here we go. We've got just one right now where we have to go after Surtur, I believe is how you say it. After you go through the story, we see him at the very end, and basically we see that's where our raid is right now. Right now it is only available for level 60 characters, and it's also only for 10 people. The way that everything is tuned is designed for a party of 10. It doesn't scale like most of the other content. Okay, and like I said, I'm not going to enter into it, but we can see right here that this is actually a raid that I went in at another time. It's really, really cool because it's so new. People are still trying to learn a lot of the mechanics for the bosses, all of that kind of stuff. And they are exceedingly challenging. It's absolutely ridiculous how crazy challenging this is. It's very, very difficult, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Just with the first couple of bosses, they are very, very tough. But it's a really exciting feature. I'm very looking forward to additional raids, just like additional one-shot stories, very similar. For the raids, we're ending up getting giant loot explosions essentially after every boss. So it's pretty awesome. It's a great way to gear up, but part of the problem is you can only really do the raids if you're already decently geared. If you don't have gear already, then the raids are very difficult. Although they're difficult regardless, but still it's a really, really cool thing to have anyway. Let me see here. In addition, if you have played MMORPG raids, then these might be a comfort to you, or it might be somewhat of a disappointment, because the raids are designed to only last approximately an hour for the entire thing. That is all of the bosses, everything in between, which I personally really like, because I enjoy being able to sit down, do the raid, and still have time for other stuff, as opposed to some of these raids where it's, you know, like 4 or 5 hours to finish the entire thing. It's not necessarily bad, it's just I personally do not have time for it. So that's just me, though. Let me see, what else, anything else? That's pretty much it for the raids. Other than that, the other major loot thing that I wanted to talk about is what is known as the confidential bovine sector. I've talked about it several times, but it's really, really cool, and there's actually 2 of them now. There is the original confidential bovine sector, and there is the new Bovenheim, which is the Asgardian themed version. Alright, so again, I'm not entering them right now, but I've got the footage from other times where I did the confidential bovine sector. It's lots of fun, and if any of you have played Diablo 2, you'll probably get the reference, where at that time David Brevik, the guy in charge of Marvel Heroes, or one of them, made the cow level in Diablo 2 basically as a joke. And it sort of continued on into our confidential bovine sector. And you do get really good loot from it. There is a crazy number of cows. it's just ludicrous how many cows they can fit into this level. But basically the king cow is actually a cow made to look like David Brevik, at least a little bit. Basically they put glasses on one of the cows, and it turns out that basically they're getting taken over by scrolls. It's a pretty cute little story. Well, not really cute, more funny. But regardless, it's a cool place. It's really a good place to go and get gear. And the nice thing with that is you can start off with those at right around 54 and 55. That's about the gear levels that you'll be getting, but it's still a good place to get good stuff, regardless. So that's always very nice. In addition, the portals themselves are fairly expensive. I'll just go back over here now, back to reality. And if we go to the Eternity Splinter vendor, you can see you can buy both of the portals for 65 Eternity Splinters for the original, or 200 for Bovenheim. So pretty pricey. In addition, one of the Fortune Card Mark 1 Epic rewards that you can get is a recipe for the crafter. I believe it's listed under miscellaneous. Here you go. Craft portal to confidential bovine sector, and it takes a bunch of medallions that are not difficult to get by any means, but it is something that you tend to have to go out and actually look for in order to do it. So that's pretty much it for getting items and basically gearing up your character as far as the end game is concerned. And that's really all essentially that part. But there are a couple of other things that you can do with your characters, especially once you've leveled up. And the first one that I'm going to talk briefly about is PvP. So for PvP, we're back here, and I am not going to be running it right now, but what I will be doing is I'm putting up the footage of a previous PvP match that I did. Currently there is only one PvP area. It is the Fire and Ice. It is accessed through the waypoint on the it's the challenges, I apologize. And similarly to the terminals, the PvP first unlocks when you get to, I believe it's level 20, it might be level 30. But either way, it unlocks later on, and it's literally just PvP. It's pretty standard PvP where you've got two sides, and the goal is to destroy the golems, the big statue guys, and then eventually get to the very end of your opponents, right? It's pretty cool. It's decently fun. I personally am not a huge fan of it. I barely ever do it, but I know a lot of people are really big into the PvP thing. And the one thing to note is it's actually all separately scaled and separately taken care of as far as the power cool times and all of those kinds of things compared to the PvE, the player versus environment content. And the reason being that most of the characters can fairly easily do 2 or 3 or 400,000 points of damage with one hit, and that would make PvP pretty boring. So they're basically just scaled down to be able to do like 20 to 30% of what they actually do, and it's all sorts of stuff. It is pretty neat, but again, I personally don't really enjoy it. It is certainly something that could be fun to do. And again, one thing that that you can do is you get the Crowns of Valor if you win, and you can trade those in for those nice PvP rings, so that you at least do get some kind of a reward for it. And as of right now, the system is still in beta, but hopefully relatively soon it'll come out of beta and be in a more full form. All right, so that's it for the PvP. The next one, as far as the end game and what to do after you're done leveling, is very simply just leveling more characters. So as you've seen throughout my little video here, or not really little, but still, as you've seen through my video, I have a decent number of the characters. I've got a total of 29, and I do have a fair number of them leveled up decently well. But the point is that after you finish leveling up one character, it's like, let's say that you level up a character, you don't really like him too much. Well, then you can just go and level more characters. Going back to the leveling in general, if you level more characters, the next characters that you're leveling will go up faster because of the XP synergy. It's just a great system. It's a lot of fun. It's wonderful. Okay, very, very helpful. And one of the other things is that if you did what I had mentioned earlier, where you go through the story at least one time, you should have all of the waypoints unlocked as well. And because you have all the waypoints unlocked, you can essentially skip most of the story and just get the rewards that you want. And I'll actually demonstrate how to do that real quick. Some people have a little bit of trouble with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch Nightcrawler over to normal difficulty, so that we can get the right ones. And let's go to the Sinister Lab since it's here right now. So essentially we go to the waypoint and then we basically swap out the characters so that the new person can get that same waypoint. So basically we'll just go out here real quick. This is specific for the Sinister Lab that you have to do this part. And let's see, I haven't done anything with Doctor Strange, so I'll just swap over to Doctor Strange here. And we see the intro cinematic as if I just entered the Chapter 7 area. And then we just go back inside here, and I now have the waypoint for the Sinister Lab. So it's really, really cool. It's very helpful. Obviously, I don't have any other waypoints for him, so I can't really get out. But if you remember, one thing that I can do is body slide. Just press B, and it takes you back to a hub. Easy peasy. Okay, and actually on the note of leveling additional characters, this can go back a little bit to talking about partying up and playing with other people, where if your friends are logging in and you've already been playing for a little while, then obviously you can't be like this level 40, 50, 60 character and really play efficiently with somebody who's level, 5, 6, 10, right around there. It would be exceedingly boring for you and basically just a little bit frustrating because you can't really do anything. So one really nice thing is, if you remember at the very, very, very beginning, way back, I showed one of the options here for gameplay is you can disable the hero synergy system. If you disable that, then you'd essentially be on the same XP level as your friends if they are coming in brand new. And in doing so, you can actually play through the entire game with them and just go alongside one another and gain experience at the same rate, which is really, really nice, and it can be a lot of fun. Okay, I personally haven't done it, but I know a lot of people have friends that joined the game later on. I'm actually the friend who joined later, so it wasn't really relevant to me personally. But the other thing is just to get you can get more variety with different characters, just playing in different ways. The different systems as far as the most basics of the melee versus hybrid versus range type characters, all of that kind of stuff. And last but certainly not least, if you have a main character, let's say you have a favorite Marvel hero, let's say you just have somebody that you greatly enjoyed playing, and as you were leveling them you were just like, wow, this character is awesome and I love it and I love playing this character. You may have noticed throughout my talking here, I keep switching back to Nightcrawler, that he's the only one whose name is not white. All of my other characters have their names in white, whereas Nightcrawler is blue. And the reason for that is something called prestige, which I'll go over just very briefly to tell you about. So prestige, put very simply, is essentially you are resetting your progress. You are taking a character, you take them from level 60 all the way back to level 1, and you re-level. Okay, it's a pretty neat thing. You get a couple of things for it. You get the change in the name color. The name when you chat is also a different color. You get another costume. If you remember from the crafter portion, I talked about the costume grinder. This is one way to get a bunch of costumes for free. Is if you prestige characters, every time you prestige, then you get another costume. Currently, there are a total of 6 levels of prestige, and we can go over to Clea and we can actually see them. So you see how we've got the iron buddies here? These actually correspond to the different prestige levels. If you see the bottom right corner of the green iron buddy, it says not tradable, level required, and prestige level 1 required. So you have to be at least green. And the order of the prestige levels are the green, the blue, the purple, the orange, the red, and then finally the cosmic, which is that nice yellow. So essentially the first 5, the green through the red, were what we started off with, and then cosmic was added later. Cosmic is not for the faint of heart. Think of it as like the rating of prestiging. When you go into a cosmic prestige, it takes 25 times more experience to level up. 25 times. Just imagine how long it takes. It is a ridiculous time commitment, but you get a really cool looking name, and I guess that's pretty much it. You get access to that cool cosmic iron buddy too. He actually sparkles when he's in there. If you see here on nearby, there's a couple people who are prestiged. This guy, Zephyrim, sorry to call you out if you're watching this, but he's got, or she has a cosmic prestige Deadpool, which is very, very exciting. So again, that's prestige. If you really, really like the character, it's just kind of a cool thing to do. But in the end, as far as the benefits to it, it's all in the name. It is prestige. That's all that it is prestige. It is nothing specific that you get other than the costume and the access to those special pets. Other than that, there's really no benefit to it. I myself went prestige with Nightcrawler twice because he's blue and I wanted a blue name, basically. And I just thought it was very appropriate. But other than that, not a whole lot. That's pretty much it for the prestige, and also in general, that's it for the end game stuff. So essentially, you've got gearing up your hero or heroes, as the case may be. You've also got the PvP aspects. So the gearing up includes all of the end game stuff, like the raiding and the one-shot and terminals, all that kind of stuff. You've got leveling just more characters, just to have more fun, and then the prestiging. So as a quick note for gearing up characters as well, I touched on it very briefly earlier on, but just to sort of reiterate it more, as far as the inventory is concerned, one thing that you can do to help out is just gear your characters one at a time. If you gear characters one at a time, you don't have to worry about, I just found this item that's really, really good for so-and-so, but I either do not own them or I own them and have no intention of playing them anytime soon, whatever the reason happens to be. Then if you are gearing your characters one at a time, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. If you're just trying to get all of the good gear at the same time, it's going to take up a lot more inventory. So with that, very briefly, I will just go over some very quick additional tips for not only playing the game, but just interacting with some of the menus as well. So I've got a couple of additional, just very simple tips for playing this game and interacting with some of the menus, just to make it a little bit easier on you. First and foremost is if we are at a stash tab or wherever it happens to be, and you have a large stack of items. This tends to happen a lot if you just want like one retcon potion or whatever it happens to be. Then you can like take the entire stack and then you use one, and then you have to put the stack back, whatever it happens to be. It can be really frustrating, and I know it sounds like it's not a big deal, but if you're doing it fairly frequently, it can be really annoying. So in order to fix this, essentially all that you need to, oops, I pushed the wrong button there, sorry about that. Go back in there. There we go. So essentially all that you need to do is shift and right click. If you shift and right click, you will take single portions off of a stack of items. So for example, if you only want one relic, Shift right click, boom, you just got one of the relics rather than the entire stack. Very, very nice, much easier. On that same note, if you have a team up hero, if you purchase one, then you have access to the inventory. And really, really easily, one thing that you can do is if you hold Alt, or not Alt, sorry, Control, if you Control and right click, then something from your main inventory automatically goes into your team up inventory and vice versa. Okay, if you just right click, then well, then it equips something if you if you're trying to do that. But ordinarily, if you're like just at a stash tab, I'll show you this real quick. So if you just right click, then it goes into the stash tab. But if you control right click, it goes into the team up hero. So that's kind of nice if you have team up heroes. It just helps with some really quick inventory management to move stuff around that you don't really want anywhere. So for example, I still got my stash card here. There, just move it over back over there and put my symbiote Spider-Ham back. Easy peasy, right? Last but certainly not least, well, not last, I've got probably just two more, but one thing is, once you have a whole lot of characters, then you'll run into a lot of problems of you pick up something that you're like, oh, this is great for another character, but I really don't want to switch to them. So one really, really neat trick is that if you have your inventory open, if you got your character inventory open here, then you have access to all of your stuff, and it's like, yay, whoop, whoop. And then what you can do is if you open up your roster with T, then if you click on one of the characters here, their portrait and their equipment shows up here even though you didn't switch to them. So in the case of poor Rocket here, I can take his costume and put it in my inventory. I can put it back as well. You can do this all that you want. If you want to, like if you found a really good rolled medallion for somebody else, then you can just go ahead and equip it really quickly, all sorts of stuff like that. Or if you find specific item drops that you've been looking for, maybe you found like a nice unique for somebody that you wanted, whatever it happens to be. So that's a really nice nifty little trick for this. As far as other things, there aren't too many. Not that I can really think of. One thing that I would recommend is, as far as tips for additional items and stuff like that, is again go and check out some of my leveling guides that I made, because I talked all about items that are specific for leveling and things of that nature. But with that, I will just go right on ahead and talk some about the latest content as well as ongoing and upcoming stuff. So our latest content, as I said at the very beginning of this video, I'm remaking this because of our very significant 1-year anniversary for Marvel Heroes, which is very exciting. We're very happy. The game is great. It's a lot of fun. Okay, by no means is it perfect, but it is good. As part of that, we got some really cool gifts from Marvel Heroes, or Gazillion rather, and I actually haven't opened most of them, but we got some really neat ones. So you may have seen a lot of these presents over here. I'm not going to open all of them. I'm just going to open some of them. So you see these ones that look like just little presents. I'm going to be opening most of these. Woo! Lots of shinies. So I got just basically a bunch of really nice team-up gear. The purple team-up gear actually was not around when they were first released. It only went up to blue. Ooh, I got 50 Eternity Splinters. See, got Retcon Device and Collector's Bounty. So a Collector's Bounty is an extremely powerful rare item find boost. It goes up by 200% for 12 hours. So very significant there. What else? Ooh, a whole bunch of relics. Dang, I got some good stuff, yo. Gimme. Relic. What else? Gimme. Oh, I got old lace. Nice. I already have one, but now I got another one. And a stash tab. Yay, stash tab. Woo. Love stash tabs. Very exciting. There, old lace, you can go in there. Okay, what else do we got? This is so fun. I love opening all the presents. Ooh, Pot of Gold of Cassidy Keep. This is a really neat legendary item that you can put on your characters, and just like all of the legendary items that I talked about earlier, it gains experience. And once you reach rank 1, it actually gives you bonus XP. So this is the perfect leveling based legendary item. I've actually got a decent number. You may have seen them, so there, see, I've got them there. And several of my characters actually have them equipped right now. You may have seen them. What else? We got the Punisher Omega Effect costume, which is really cool. Actually, I can show you that real quick. We'll swap over to Punisher here, so that we can see.
Time to make the world a
It's a
better place.
pretty awesome looking costume. And Falcon is attacking the targets. Go Falcon. That's pretty cool. I hate to use other properties, but he does look a little bit like Solid Snake. Just saying. All right. Let's go.
Here we go!
Good job, Falcon. You got him. So I'm not going to open the cake or most of these unique boxes because I want to save those for some other people. I will swap back over to Nightcrawler. And now you may see that I got a new button up here that says you have items available for delivery. Look at all of those shinies. Woof! Nice. That is so many things. So, definitely get all this cool stuff. Woo! Explosion. Yay, shinies. What is this? Shared quest reward box. Ooh, random number of Odin marks. Yay! I got 2 Odin marks. That is certainly random, I assume. Alright, let's see what my other fortune card is. XP boost. Nice. I love XP boosts. And then Brevik's Cowbell. Aw, I have 3 of those now. It's actually a decent thing. Okay, geez, so much stuff. But it's okay, I got a new stash tab, so no worries. No worries. Got a couple costumes. Actually, that's 3 costumes. I don't want to get rid of the Colossus costume. That's actually a fortune card specific one. Okay, sorry, I'm just going through all this as quickly as I can here.
It's not as if I could put this item between dimensions.
Why not? You should be able to. That's like your shtick. Alright. We got relics. We got relics. Relics. Crowns of Valor. I don't use those. I gotta start playing more PvP apparently so I can get enough Crowns of Valor. So incidentally, since we're here, the day runes here, I got 5 day runes as part of the gifts. These are actually one way that we can get some really cool bonuses of various sorts, and I can show that in just a little bit. Bullseye Medallion, very nice. Gorgon. Taskmaster, that's the one that I got earlier. Venom Medallion. Let's see, retcon potions. I actually really don't want those retcon potions. I've already got 40. I don't really need any more. Probably gonna just get rid of those. Chest of 20 Odin marks. Yes, please. Thank you. Alright, give me the rest of my loot. Fat loots. More fortune cards. I think it basically just gave one of one of every fortune card. Stack, 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 stack. Oh, I thought that said it gave me 100. I was freaked out there for a second. Okay. Just a little more. Oh, jeez. So many things. Fun fireworks. Cool. Oh, that's nifty. Yay, happy birthday. I want fireworks for my birthday. Alright, so these ghost boxes basically give random items for whoever you're playing as at the time. We got legendary pieces of rainbow. Wow, so much cool stuff. Let's see, Mark II fortune card. Matrix of Unbinding, Mark 3. We got an XP boost. Fortune card Mark 4, rarity boost. Mark 5. 10 Odin marks, not bad. And Mark 6. So you may have noticed when I opened up the several of those fortune cards, I got these random items here. And basically those random little items are for turning into Clea, the cube shard vendor, because what she does is if you save up 95 of them, then you can get some of the exclusive costumes that are only in the fortune cards. If you basically get really unlucky. I personally sell them all the time. I don't think we'll ever get enough free ones in order to unlock the costumes. So see, that's what all of these are right there. All right. And since I got some legendary pieces of rainbow, we can go right here. Craft a legendary pot of gold. Yay! Pot of gold of Cassidy Keep. Great item to have for new characters. So much awesome stuff for this anniversary. It's great. I love it. More pots of gold. Where'd my other one go? There it is. Okay. Well, that's enough fooling around. Let's see if... I probably can't even get it all. Bacon wrapped hot pepper. Okay, I'm not going to mess with that anymore. So I'm going to, instead of talking about all of this great stuff for the anniversary, I'm going to move right into the ongoing and upcoming stuff. So for ongoing and upcoming content, if you're watching this and you have never seen any of my stuff before for Marvel Heroes, then I will tell you essentially what I do is every time there's a patch release, I will make a video similar to this, where essentially I'll just go over the major changes in that patch. I don't do something this massive, obviously, every single week. That would be ridiculous. But I go over the major changes for the patches, what characters it deals with, if there's a new event, what's boosted, how it works, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm going to be doing, because obviously this video is going to become it's not going to be irrelevant, but a lot of the information will be updated very quickly. So that's how I end up doing that, is with weekly additional videos. And on top of that, so that's from my perspective personally, and that's what I'll be doing for anybody who cares to watch. But other than that, as far as what's coming up more immediately, we've got 3 new characters that are coming down the pipeline. We have Silver Surfer, we have Mr. Fantastic, and Nova. So Nova is a little bit of an interesting case because he was originally one of the characters that was going to be in the game when it first started, but there were all sorts of issues with, I guess it was licensing or something. I don't know what actually went wrong, but basically he hasn't been able to be in the game until now, or until hopefully relatively soon, rather. In addition, the achievement system, the actual achievement system, is still on the way, and that's basically going to be like, congratulations, you lifted up 4 cars in the span of 30 seconds. I don't know. It's going to be stuff like that, where just random events that you can do. I don't know if they're going to have rewards for it or anything like that. They very well may. The other major thing that's been announced is daily login rewards and essentially chain logins, where it says, you know, you've logged in 6 days in a row, here's a free blarg, whatever it is. So that's going to be really cool. We've actually had daily login rewards for a decent amount of time now, but we haven't had anything in terms of if you log in for 10 days straight, then you get a bonus cool something or other like that. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's going to be cool. But other than that, that's pretty much it. That's all I can think of. That's all I had written down, at least. But I will go right on ahead and go into just some very brief conclusions and a summary. So now I'll just have some brief summary and some conclusions about the game overall. First and most importantly, thank you very much for watching this. I hope that it helped you out, and feel free to ask me any questions, either in-game or on YouTube here or on the forums, wherever you happen to be. I'm generally online in-game. You can add me as a friend, whatever you want to do. And with that, I will just say that I personally greatly enjoy this game, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be making all these videos for it to try to help people out. But it's a lot of fun. It's a wonderful property that I really enjoy. I've loved Marvel Comics ever since I was a kid. I used to read them. I watched the cartoons, all of that kind of stuff. It was really fun. It was really great for me as a kid. Now it's like I get to play as my favorite superheroes, which is amazing. And not only that, but I would like to thank Gazillion particularly for their wonderful work with this game. They took it from what I've heard. I didn't play during the early release in the beta days, but apparently it was pretty horrendous, and now it is much better. So not only just making a great game, but making such amazing progress with it as well. I would greatly like to thank them, and for essentially just giving it to us and giving us this wonderful experience to have. So that's pretty much it. Again, I hope that you enjoy your experience, and the one thing that I always like to say with anybody playing this game that I've said several times throughout this video is just play however you want. If you would like to play a single hero the entire time and never touch anybody else, do it. If all you want to do is play everybody and not care about a single one and like really get one person really geared and able to do all of this crazy endgame stuff, then do it. Play however you are happy with, right? Just whatever you enjoy most, that's what you can do, and that's the beauty of a game like this. You are not pigeonholed into any specific type of play style, which is great, and it makes the game that much more fun, at least in my opinion. So please go out, play Marvel Heroes, have a wonderful time, get all of the awesome loot, get those great uniques, and thank you once again for watching. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope to see you online and in the forums and or on YouTube, and thank you very much, and I will see you next patch.
I'm hooked on a feeling.